This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. You join us at an astounding time. Here we have Tingana and the eastern fringes of Djuma. Well, actually the middle of Djuma, and he's just gone to ground because there are some impala coming towards us. My name's James Henry. We have got Sebastian Romby on camera. Let's go back to the leopard, who seems to be about to hunt. He's just gone very flat here. It's a great way to start our morning on the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park. Please talk to us, #SafariLive on Twitter. Otherwise, you can use the chat stream on the YouTube or whatever comment section you happen to be looking on. Oops, that's me rolling down the hill on whatever platform you're watching. Very exciting goings on here. I think the impala are possibly trying to get towards the little waterhole that we're sitting next to. We're right next to Vuyatela camp, but they're now, you can't see them, and I'm not going to move, and I don't want Seb to swing round to them. They're looking a little nervous. A huge thank you to whoever the Zoomy is at the moment, found Tingana, waiting here from about 4:25, I think it was, and thank you to all of you who notified us on Twitter that he was waiting here, and has been waiting here since 4:25 this morning. And you might just hear the odd sound of human voice. That is not me singing in the background. It is a couple of people about to go out and game drive from Vuyatela camp, so they are very close by. He's very close to the camp. Look at that. Unfortunately, those impala, I don't know how hungry he is, but those impala have not come down to drink earlier. And just as the light starts to grow, of course, so his chances of catching one of them get smaller and smaller. And in fact, the long grass that he's sitting in at the moment doesn't extend all the way to the shore of the tiny little waterhole here, and so I think he's going to have a tough time unless one of them stumbles over him. There's the waterhole, there's the camp, the twinkling lights, which will slowly turn off. As this very misty dawn starts to brighten slightly. It's very misty, it's cloudy, thick bank of cloud sitting over the top of us now. And I think the temperature is probably, let me suck it out of my thumb, I'm going to guess around 58 degrees Fahrenheit, also about 14 or 15 degrees centigrade. All right, let's see what we're going to... I'm probably going to just move slightly here, get away, and see if we can't just give him some space and the impala some space. Let's go and say hello to Taylor while I do that.
Good morning, everybody, again, and welcome to this very misty non-sunrise safari. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Berg. And we are looking for animals, obviously. Now, we cannot see anything. Today's the mistiest day I think it's ever been for me. I don't think I've ever quite been on a safari like this before, where there's been so much mist. So we're in first gear. We're literally crawling along, trying to find some sign of the cheetah. So I did just check Sandy Patch. No luck there. Again, they could have just been sitting really still. I would have missed them. Anyway, so we'll check Impala Plains, and then I'll check Triple M as well, just to see if I can't see any tracks, if they've maybe actually left the property. They weren't too far away last night from the boundary, so there is a chance that they could have turned. Although this is really good hunting weather. There's a slight, very gentle breeze today. It's not much, but of course this fog is going to provide amazing cover, so hopefully the cheetahs stick around. Not that I've seen any animals yet this morning, but we'll hopefully eventually get them. Right, but more importantly, how great is it to have the Duke back on the property, and I bet James is happy to see him.
There's the Duke. Isn't he a wonderful looking creature? That's not the Duke, obviously. That is an impala. There's an impala male. What we did is move further away so that we aren't going to obstruct any movement. Now, the impala are having a drink. That, of course, makes him quite vulnerable. But like I say, there isn't a huge amount of grass between him and them, which means the chances of a successful hunt here are small. Now, we are going to go to one of those unscheduled broadcasts, everybody. So when I say hello to you again, it's not because I've forgotten that I've already said hello. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park. We're sitting here with a leopard called Tingana, a 13-year-old male, and he is stalking some impala up ahead. My name is James Henry. We've got Sebastian on camera, and please feel free to send us any questions or comments that you might have. There are the impala. They're going down to have a bit of a drink here at a little waterhole. The fence in the background you can see is one of the safari camps of this area, so the action really is, well, they are right in the middle of the action, and we're on a little reserve called Juma on the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park. I just quickly have to get onto the game drive radio. Tingana is at the pan in front of Wetela Camp, so he's stalking these impala, and I don't think he's going to be successful here. I think he's going to be unlucky because there just simply isn't quite enough grass between him and those impala. But he might get lucky because one of them could easily come past him. This is really very special. It's about 6:40 in the morning here. The temperature's around about 58 degrees Fahrenheit or so where I'm sitting. The impala have made it through the long night, probably quite relieved, and yet peril lies in the grass. Vanessa, they do absolutely hunt on their own. They are solitary animals, the leopards. They live a life of solitude from the day they leave their mothers, around about, in his case, probably between 18 months and 2 years old. Sometimes they will come together with their offspring or with a consort, for example, but normally these males are completely alone, and they definitely don't cooperatively hunt. It's not impossible to find leopards sharing a meal, but they don't hunt cooperatively like male cheetah or like lions. Now he has to stay completely hidden in this grass because the impala are very wily. They've got great eyesight, great ears, great noses, and unless they get very close to him, it's now getting quite bright, and so I'm not sure that he is going to be successful. It will depend very much on some luck and how these impala move. Richard, we know he's a male because we know the leopard. So he's very easily recognizable by his tatty ears, by the spot pattern above his whiskers. We know him. But if you didn't know him, you could tell because his head is big. It's much bigger than a female's. His general body size, of course, is much bigger. You can see that thick muscle around his neck. The females don't have that. But if you didn't know leopards, it would be difficult for you to tell. But for us to tell, it's quite easy because, of course, he is a easily recognizable animal. So we know him as Tingana, a 13-year-old male leopard. So Eric, he's 13. Is he 13? He's not quite 13, actually. He's 12. He's 12. He's almost 13. He's into his 13th year. So he's coming to the end of his career. But he's still in good nick. Well, the impala are moving off, and they're going off behind us, where there is a little bit more cover for him. And if you do hear another vehicle or some people talking, it is a number of guests from the safari camp that I was mentioning. And Vanessa, he's probably, like I say, he's going to the end of his career. 12 years old is getting on, and it's entirely possible that, 14 would be old for a male leopard. So I'm not sure that he would make it beyond 14. You can see him paying hugely close attention to what's going on around, because he will want to have a bit of food. I don't think he's particularly hungry, to be honest, but he could take any opportunity, he will take any opportunity he can to catch a meal. Okay, the other impala's gone now. I wonder if we can't have a look behind us. Yeah, no, those impala have gone into the open area, so I think probably we are going to say goodbye to those of you who have just joined us. We'll keep watching Tingana, and if he looks like he's going to get any closer to those impala and find himself some breakfast, we will come back. If you want to keep on watching what's going on here, just go across to SafariLive on YouTube, or just Google SafariLive, and you'll find us watching this leopard. And indeed, for the next 3 hours we'll be on safari. There are 3 of us out here today.
Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? What a way to start, indeed. It is a cool, misty morning here in the African wilderness, and we have found the tracks of the Avoca males heading west. I'm just going to try and get my torch on it, because it's very... Oopsie, that's not my torch. It is not that easy to see. Sense? Can you see it there? There's the size. Bear in mind, my torch is 10 centimeters, so that is enormous. Here's the back pad with the pads. Really, really big pad, and those big toes in the middle. But what's very interesting to see in a male lion track is the amount of negative space at this sort of enlarged area up there. You can see that, I sense. Do I need a stick? This enlarged area over here. Really, really big in a male. And also when you look at a male lion track, here's his back pad, and here's his toe. So look how much space there is on the outside. That just goes to show how wide his feet really are. And if I put my hand there, comparison, it's almost the size of my hand, except it's just power. And those are just his toes, really. Oh, yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who are not aware, my name is, in fact, Steve Falconbridge, and I'm joined by Senzo Umkize on the camera. Sorry, I did forget my name again today. We just get too excited when things are happening. So we are going to help Taylor in the west here with tracks of those cheetah. These lions have apparently crossed, and we can actually hear them in the north calling. They didn't call for us last night, but I have not forgotten. My bag is packed and full of medicinal madness for this morning, and we are going to be walking that way into the mist. Isn't it beautiful? On the tracks of lions, even though they're gone, it's always nice to see. And here is where one lay down. You see the foot. Here's where the foot is, and there's the back leg. The foot and the back leg. Here is the bottom, and the tail goes out that way. And here is the front feet, and where the body lay. Sitting here, listening to the darkness.
Well, Tingana seems to have lifted his head slightly more, because I think that his hunting chances are well and truly over. The impala have moved off entirely, and so I think he's just going to, as they say in modern parlance, chill over here for a while. Very nice to see him. I called him 13 just now. He's of course not 13, he's 12-ish. We're not sure exactly how old he is. I haven't seen him stand up yet, so I'm not sure in what sort of nick he is if he's hungry. But unfortunately, he's not going to be having any impala breakfast from that herd. He's in an awkward position now, as I said, because the grass is very long where he is. But he's unfortunately between the waterhole and him, there is just sufficient space for something like an impala or warthog to escape should he burst from cover. Hello, Ivy. Ivy, you say you just love that face. Luke, in the final control, who's directing today, says he assumes you're talking about Tingana. I'm going to assume the same. I quite like his face too. It's grizzled. It's old. It looks like it has much experience, which of course it does. He's a good-looking fellow, is our old pal, Tingana. There he is. I'm just taking an illegal photograph in case anyone's wondering. I got a new lens on my holiday, you see, everyone. I'm not supposed to tell you that, but, you know, you and I have shared certain confidences over the last 3 and a bit years, so, you know, I'll share that with you. Yeah, I was going to say something about gorillas, but I thought that would be a little bit insulting in the mist this morning.
Oh, James, you know, it takes a lot to offend me. You should have gone with it. We don't have a gorilla in the mist. Did we have a vulture in the mist? This is one of the white-backed vultures that are nesting just off of Philemon's cut line. I don't think it's too impressed this morning with its very damp feathers. I think if its feathers feel anything like my eyelashes do at the moment, they're just collecting lots of water. How crazy is that? I don't think we're going to see the sun for a while. Ah, yes, okay. There's Ferg.
Remarkably, the only thing that's dry is the lens.
He was checking. He said the remarkably the only thing that was dry was the lens. How creepy is that sound? Huh? It's like Halloween. But there it is over there. I just want to show you quickly the bird that was making the noise. I can't even tell you if it's a Swainson's or a Natal spurfowl. Or a ghost, says Ferg. Right, in the meantime, while we try and figure out what it is, Tingana seems to be up. Oh, no, never mind, sorry. Seems as though we've lost James's camera.
James is lost in the mist.
James is lost in the mist. Where did James go? It's in the Natal spurfowl. I really can't see what that is. Where's Kirsty? Is Kirsty in final control? She's a bird expert. It's so Actually, I can't even tell you. Anyways, it seems as though James has not lost his camera. He's back again.
No, I haven't lost my camera, but unfortunately the mist is coming down, even thicker than it was before, and Tingana's swung around. He spotted something. Now, there are a number of little spurfowls running around, a couple of doves, but I don't think that would have made him flick around like he did. I think he spotted something in the bush the other side, perhaps coming towards the water. He's in a good position here. He must be patient and just lurk here for the rest of the day. Well, he's definitely seen something. See how when he lifts his head, he flattens his ears so that they don't stick up. They're the most obvious feature of his head when he lifts his head. And then he kind of lifts them up to see if he can hear anything. It's so misty that I can't see what he's looking at. I'm imagining it could be some nyala, perhaps a lonely duiker. which would be ideal for him. No, I think he's kind of given up now. Alam, you're looking at him. That is the oldest male leopard in all of Djuma. I mean, all of Djuma. Djuma's not a particularly large piece of ground, which means it's the territory of only him and Hukumuri, and they both kind of share it. So he's pretty much on the line of where their territories, their north-south boundary is. And Hukumuri has been a long way in the west, I believe, for the last little while. Tingana here on the east, and Hukumuri we think is between 6 and 7 years old. No one really knows for sure. No, he's definitely got a plan here, this leopard. He thinks that something's going to come down and have a drink. Alim, a very interesting question that I think what you'll find is that they're of a very similar mass. I would say that they probably weigh in at around about 63 to 65 kilos each, which is about 130 pounds, so they're not as heavy as they look. Tingana, though, is taller. I think he's slightly taller. He's not quite as heavily built as Hukumuri is. Hukumuri is stocky. He's well muscled. He's like a sort of Staffy, if you like. I don't know if you're familiar with the Staffordshire Bull Terrier. That kind of musculature. Tingana has a sort of more regal, tall bearing about him, whereas Hukumuri looks like a boxer, a stocky boxer. But I would say that their masses must be around about the same. Now, this mist has pretty much come over the top of us and now sat on top of us. And there's an impala just disappearing into the mist the other side of the waterhole there. And just watch, excuse the bits and pieces of technical equipment that you'll see in that picture. I just don't want to move at the moment. He's just disappeared into that mist. That's the aerial, but you can see all of that mist. Isn't that amazing? Now, normally, of course, you'd expect this mist to lift as the sun came out, but at the moment there is no sun, there is no hint of sun, and I'm not surprised that Taylor's vulture was looking a bit miserable earlier. Alright, here I'm hearing on the radio that there are lions calling somewhere. Let's see if they're the same ones on the end of Steve's tracks.
Yes, well, thank you very much. We can hear them calling from that direction. And when you struggle to know direction, just see the orange of the sun starting to come up there behind Senzo. It's going to burn off this mist. I would love to see 3 enormous male lions calling in this weather, wouldn't you? Just here in this misty morning, where the grass is a little bit damp from the mist and the dew. What a morning to start off with. Winter is definitely here, even though winter's going backwards now. Every day gets longer from here on out. It's a good thing. So by listening to those calls, bearing in mind lions, you can hear them from between 5 and 8 kilometers away. We could just hear those guys. So they're north. They're in the Manuleti by now. Their tracks came straight along Vuyatile access, and no doubt, as I suspected, they would be gone. Djuma just a blip on their territorial radar at the moment. Off they go. So we are here in the area called Sandy Patch. You can just make out Rexon there. This is an area that those cheetah are quite enjoying. So we come in this area to see if we can give Taylor a hand in finding them. But as you can see, it's not very easy to see too much too far. We're going to spend a little while trying to find them, and then we'll continue on with what we were going to do. Michelle, I am. I love these pants, actually. I would normally wear shorts. I think the last couple of days I went on a walk, I realized 45 minutes into the walk I wish I had my shorts on. So I've got my gloves, got my jacket, got my stick, and this is a marvelous thing I found the other day. I've attached it to my stick now. It is a piece of bark, I think, or a piece of skin, I'm really not sure. It is a very interesting piece of something.
It's elephant skin.
Senzo reckons it's a piece of elephant skin. It's got no smell at all. Dorothy, most certainly they will. Just like that. There's not much on there, but you know, they get a lot of moisture out of what's on the plants, and get a lot of moisture from the plants. And I mean, you can see I haven't really walked through too much grass just yet, but if I walk through here, you can see I'm getting nice and wet on my shoes. My stick, just from walking through the air here, is damp. My whole stick is damp, and that's what some insects actually utilize. The dew, desert adapted tok-toki or tenebrinoid beetles, because they've got a smooth body, you can actually see how this rough piece has not accumulated any moisture, and my smooth stick is very damp. So the tenebrinoid beetles, what they do is they fog bask, and that's how they survive in the deserts. They stand with their back sort of elevated to the dunes, and the fog comes in and it hits their back and runs down, and they drink it. And down in the Cape and the west coast, where we have a bit of a water shortage because it's desert down there, they've started putting up these long shade cloth walls or fences, you will, along the coast. And because as the water or the condensation, the fog coming in off the ocean, which happens, hits that, it condenses and falls down into gutters, which then they're now accumulating for moisture. See, they're doing biomimicry from nature, copying what the insects do out there, which is fantastic stuff.
I'm not copying that way. Are you gathering water on your back, Sebastian? Letting it drip down onto your nose so that you might lick it off? No, I'm not following that. But yes, of course, Steve is correct. Animals or people do gather the mist in desert areas in order to feed themselves with water. Tingana has not moved, but you can see the picture. It looks a bit misty. It is not because Sebastian has been blowing on the lens of the camera. It is because it has got even more thickly misty. Ravinda, I'm going to go with Predator, I think. The mist will cover his, well, what do we call it? He's not stalking at the moment, his ambush. The mist will cover his ambush here. He will be able to see things coming towards the water. Everything has to drink, so it's quite likely that something will come down here during the course of the day to drink. And as long as this mist remains, it'll give him far more advantage than it will sort of hide the arrival of potential prey species. So it's definitely going to give him, much like darkness, it will give him an advantage. As soon as it brightens, you know, the very sharp eyes, their ability to see contrast of things like the impala and the warthog will make it, well, it'll just make it pretty difficult for him to hunt, especially as he got himself into the only patch of long grass around this waterhole. I think he'd be far more kind of successful if he was in amongst the little thickets to the left of us. At least he could move around then. But he cannot move then. Unless something stumbles over him, he's not going to catch it. Starlight, I imagine, pretty much like ours, you know. I think there's definitely a reduction in the distance that they can see in the mist. But, you know, I don't think that they're particularly mist adapted, if you know what I mean. It's not like it's dark. It's light. So I don't think his eyes are any more advantaged or disadvantaged than they would be. I feel like I didn't finish that sentence. His eyes are any more disadvantaged than they would be, or advantaged than they would be in normal kind of daylight. It's definitely getting brighter from behind us, which tells me that this is a mist as opposed to a cloud. And in fact, the sky is emerging above us, which is great news. Let's see if we can find the cheetah now in the brightening sky.
Well, I don't know what we're going to be doing. What's happened here? All of a sudden some impala have arrived. Well, look at that. Now I can actually see them. I have not had any luck on the cheetah, other than I have not seen any tracks crossing out of Djuma, so that's kind of good news. Now we just need to wait for this mist to settle so we can actually see them properly. But there in the distance is a group of impala. It's a bachelor group. Very, very difficult to see them. And there's one male that seems to be quite frisky. Oh, that's insane. I better be careful. This is a very good open area. We're back on Impala Plains again. And this is ideally where that female cheetah would be able to open up. So hopefully she's moving in this direction. But I haven't seen any tracks. I also can't remember how to get into where I was last night. It was quite thick, quite dense. I probably should have sent myself a little location pin. But I didn't. So now I must suffer and have to off-road to try and find these cheetah, but hopefully the bushwalk team comes back around this way and will be able to give us a little bit of help. Oh, Paddy, that is absolutely impossible to answer, I think. I don't think anybody can tell you about how frequently a group of impala is stalked by predators. That's a difficult one. I'd be very impressed if Steve or James knew how to answer that one, because we don't actually know how many herds of impala are out here, firstly, and how many times do you actually see a predator when they're stalking. The idea is, of course, to hide away, so they'd be hiding away from us too, trying to keep us hidden in the grass. So it'd be virtually impossible, unfortunately, to answer that one. That one will remain a mystery forever. I don't know how you would even conduct a study on that. You'd have to make sure that there was a research person with every single predator in the Sabi Sand. You'd have to follow them around and, then see when they stalk a herd of impala, I suppose. But that's impossible to do. It would be good, but I think it's virtually impossible to try and figure something like that out, I'm afraid. Like I said, in order to have to be with every single different type of predator that would potentially feast upon an impala and then watch them stalk over an infinite amount of time to get an average. That's crazy that I keep wanting to wipe my monitor. I keep thinking I need to wipe the monitor, but no, that's just how thick. It's not even mist. I feel like it's fog today because we can't see more than about 50 meters in front of us. But it is starting to lighten up now. So that's good. And it's deathly quiet. It's very eerie out here. Also, it was a Swainson spurfowl that we saw earlier. When we got closer to it, I could see the red mask. I'm rolling backwards. Okay, let's go to those warthog burrows near the repeater. I think we'll try and drive on one of the tracks there and go around and see if we can find anything. Maybe they've just been sitting down, relaxing. Who knows, but hopefully we'll be able to find something. Right. Tingana is doing, I have no idea what, but maybe he'll give you an opportunity to see if he will indeed stalk a herd of impala.
Well, he's moved a little bit. He's just done a tremendously active move of 3 steps forward to the edge of the grass, I think because the mist has now got so thick that he actually can barely see in front of him. But I don't know if you're picking it up. You can see how it's definitely brightened up a lot. And the watery winter sun is making an attempt to burn off the mist here. And he's looking down towards something now. Luke is being very amusing today, and yesterday. He says it looks like those movie versions of when you go to heaven. Yes, when you emerge from the mist into heaven. Well, Luke, let's hope that's where we're going. Much more pleasant than the movie versions of going to hell, of course. Which no one wants to go to. Luke's being amusing again. He says one step closer for the impala. Yes, quite. One hopes that the mist will not be quite as dense in impala heaven. Allow them to see the heavenly grasses and bushes. Yes, Andy, definitely, as they would be in the darkness. Animals are certainly in heightened states of alertness in mist like this. As soon as they can't see or hear, if the wind blows and they can't hear properly or smell properly, they immediately get edgy. And I've no doubt that animals walking around today in this mist will try and stay out in the open so that they can see anything that might want to grab them. This would be beautiful lion hunting kind of conditions. I can imagine lions stalking through this mist after a herd of buffalo, totally clueless, and then grabbing one. Unfortunately, Tingana has got very bored and has gone to sleep. I've seldom met a cat that can sleep as soundly as this one can. He is very, very competent at faster sleeping. In the thickest of grass, he has stood up, but I haven't really seen his belly, so I don't know how fat he is at the moment. But it must be said that, of course, he has now been here for nearly 3 hours. So he's very, very patient. And of course, when one talks of patience, the activity that comes to mind is tracking.
Yes, indeed. Well, while we are busy tracking, I'm going to cut a branch for you. But first, let's look at these beautiful eggs. Egg casing. The tropical tent web spider inside there. You can actually see it from this side. It's got those little colours on the bottom. They've got their egg casings in there. As Steph said in his walk the other day, really, really sort of preparing them and insulating them for the winter, so that when the summer comes they can hatch and come out in multitudes before providing or producing their own web and moving into a life of their own. So she's got them in the middle of the web. They're nice and protected. And when they come out, if they do dawdle too long, it's quite possible that the female, if she's still alive, will eat them. So there's no love or lost in nature. But this morning's medicinal talk is going to be on the magic guarri, which is this tree we have right here. And I was just cutting a branch because this tree is really, really remarkable out here. The reason I was cutting a branch as you came to me is because this time of year we do experience quite a lot of fire, and this magic guarri doesn't burn very well. But what's nice about it is, and I've done this before many times in the past, when we've been driving along and suddenly there's a fire coming from somewhere, you can run in the bush, you can cut this, and it works as a very good fire beater. Very good fire beater, because it doesn't burn. So for example, if you've got a fire coming from that side there and it's moving in this direction, what you'll do is you can start a fire this side, and you want it to burn this way. And if it wants to jump back, you can just beat it out like this. So you eventually get this really long fire break burning in that direction. And if you need to, the fire is going to jump a road like this, you can just put it out, because look at that, it works very, very well. Very, very well. And these are abundant. They're all over the place. They actually are known to encroach in areas of overutilization. And when we look around this area, basically guarris almost everywhere. Magic guarri. our magic plants indeed. And here is the heartwood, nice and pink inside, and beautiful. We'll talk more about these as the morning goes on, and we're not likely to experience any fire this morning, but Rexon is the habitat manager, and he's with me this morning, and there's definitely talks and thoughts about preparing the fire break for the next couple of days. So I'm just going to put that there. Brush packing at its best. I'm just doing a permaculture practice like the elephant. I broke the branch, I fought some fire, dumped it on the ground to help with the seed bank restoration. So when the fires come, it's important to be prepared for that. So that's why we're discussing it, because he needs to get all his plans in place. But we're still discussing things with Taylor on the radio, seeing if we can help her find her cheetah.
Oh, I don't know how much luck we're actually going to have with finding these cheetah. They're in this block. They have to be in this block. Like I said, there's no tracks of them coming out. So I'm not comfortable off-roading in this area when I can barely see it. Sorry, my eyes are really watery today. I might have to go back to camp to get an antihistamine. I'm suffering from allergies. So basically they're here somewhere, but it's so thick, and there's so many holes that you can fall in, and I can barely see. I don't really want to go off-roading in there. It probably will be easier for the bushwalk team to zigzag away and through them. It'll probably work better. But we're just doing another little loop and checking some termite mounds, the ones that we can see, and then that's really all we can do, I'm afraid. I'll probably move out of this area soon. Just let the bushwalk guys come through, and if they find something they can call me back. But it's I mean, we can only drive around in circles for so long. I'd rather go and see if we can't find some elephants or anything else like that. But it's quiet. Yes, love, hope, faith is the list of animals that I have not seen for a while is endless. From a honey badger to an aardvark to a aardwolf to a, what else have I not seen for a while that I'd like to see? A saddle-billed stork would even be nice. I'm happy with lots of the animals, but most of the animals that I want to see come out at night. Like, I haven't seen a pangolin yet. I'd love to see a pangolin maybe one day. I don't know when that'll be. Maybe I'm going to have to go to the Kalahari to get that one right. Just checking here before my hyenas running around, not cheetah tracks. Very eerie, bouncing along. Oh, there's not even any birds out anymore. Cool. Well, we'll carry on bumbling around and see if anything's gonna, well, stay out or wait for us on the middle of the road. However, Tingana seems to be, well, giving James a nice show.
Well, I think that's a very strong term. I'm not sure that Tingana is giving us a particularly good show. He's fast asleep in the grass now, and I don't know how much longer we'll be here for, because I think there are other people who want to come into the sighting, and Tingana's not doing anything of any use whatsoever. So I think we'll probably have to leave fairly soon. Anyway, that's okay. We've had a good show from him so far. Very nice to see his spots there, and the golden pelage of his skin, very nicely sort of matching, if you like, with the golden grass. Alright, we're going to leave because Andrew is now moving into the sighting. Sorry, Anna-Marie, can I have your question once more? No, missed it again. Dewlap? Relate something? Does testosterone level? Oh, I don't think so, no. I think it's just age. So I don't think that his testosterone levels will make a big difference to his dewlap size. I think that's probably just largely to do with his age. Look how misty it's got. It's ridiculous. It really is quite astonishing. Anyway, let's see what else we can find. I think we'll go down towards where Kalamba was yesterday and see if we don't get lucky around there. We're going to drive very slowly because, of course, we could drive past a herd of Kalambas if we weren't very careful. Yes, Bill, as far as we're aware, Tingana is daddy to Kalamba, which is, so it's a good thing that he's in this area. We don't want Hukumuri coming around here when Kalamba is around, because he would probably kill poor old Kalamba. Other male leopards, strange male leopards, leading cause of death amongst little leopard cubs. And of course, while we think Tingana is Kalamba's father, and indeed he probably thinks he's Kalamba's father, it's possible that he isn't. Female leopards will range far and wide when they're in estrus, looking for males. In fact, well, you know, they can be fairly liberal with their favors, as they say. Not to put too fine a point on it. And then they come back into their normal territories, and the male that lives in that territory thinks that the young cub is his. So that's not unheard of, but we know that Tundi was mating with Tingana. We're pretty sure that that's who the father is. I don't think we've seen her mating with anyone else. This is a very strange mist. I know I keep talking about it, but it is the most obvious thing to see. In fact, it's the only thing that I can see. Just listening to the radio quickly. No, never mind. All right, so I think we're about 5 minutes from where Kalamba was yesterday. She's probably still around there if she's waiting for her mum to bring her something to eat. We could possibly find Tundi in a tree with something to eat. In the meantime, I must confess that in a mist like this, I think being on foot must be fairly terrifying.
I am absolutely terrified. No, I'm okay. Senzo said, is it safe to be walking now? And I said, well, it's not as safe as it normally is, but then we always are being full of precaution and being careful what we do. Just have to walk slower in the mist. It's more about hearing now, but almost if you're walking in the mist like this, you must think as if you're walking in quite dense vegetation, because that's essentially what it is. It's the same sort of feeling. But what we are going to do is, because culturally they believe that the magic worry branches hung above the door frame is a sign of good luck. So I'm going to walk with it above my head, because it's a sign of good luck. Magic worry. Very nice. And so we're going to walk like that for the whole day. Maybe I'll just strap it on my neck. There we go. Camouflaged as well as good luck. So the wood is it's kind of revered in the communities here. They believe that the wood of magic warriors actually holds supernatural powers. So they don't use it for anything. They won't burn it to use it for firewood, and they won't make anything out of it. They won't chop it up. It's basically just left. They will do certain things with it. We'll talk about that later. But how's that? They believe that it holds supernatural powers within the plant. And the name is called Euclea divinorum, because traditional healers, before giving someone sort of a fortune or a future reading about something, will actually take some of this plant and chew it. It's not very nice. And then, well, Senzo, your future is going to be, that's probably one of the reasons, the divinorum. Divinations, magic properties in the wood. Ooh, what's that? Is that a barbet? Giraffe girl, yes, very interesting. Very interesting. And while we're on the topic of giraffes will not eat this plant. They will only feed on the leaves. I'm sorry, not the leaves. On the fruits. Fruits are very tasty. Well, for an animal, they're very tasty. For us, they're a little bit bitter, but they are edible. They are edible, and there are none left this time of year. They've all been eaten by the birds, and Taylor, and Herbie. All the fruits are gone. Yes, Tracy, 100% indigenous to this area. If I find you an invasive plant species in the area, I'll most certainly bring it up. But we don't get too many in the area. Invasive plants generally come in and are brought in from rivers and from streams and from water from upstream in the mountains and from agriculture. But majority of what we find in this area is indigenous. And if it's not indigenous, we will do active measures to try and remove it, which is important because alien plants are probably one of the biggest threats to biodiversity in the world. Biggest threats because they outcompete local species. They have a different seed load, different response to the environment, different response to droughts. Animals probably don't eat them. Insects haven't learned how to attack them. So alien plants are a really, really big problem. Called invasive alien species. They're not from out of the planet. They're just from an area foreign to this one. So there's not too many in the park, but where we have agriculture and forestry, enormous amounts of invasive species. Okay, well, carry on. I'm going to put my magic worry back on my head for... Oh, wow. Sorry, I wanted to go back to Taylor there, but I'll also maybe show you a little bit of something here. This is possibly a fur ball from a lion. Could even be a hyena, but that is impala hoof there. And there's all the bone. There's the bone. Big shards of bone. So I'm going to guess this is a lion or a hyena, not a leopard. A leopard wouldn't ingest that deliberately. That hoof, all this fur. It's an enormous amount of fur. And I say fur ball, it might even be a nyala. It's hard to tell by just the hoof. Because there's no meat, there's no dung or scat in here. Lions eat so quickly, like the Tasmanian devil sound, and they just eat, and everything goes in, hoof, bone, fur, and then later on they'll eat a little bit of grass, and then it'll cause them to vomit, to throw that out on the ground. And that is a classic example of a fur ball. Not the average fur ball you see back home with your cats, but a fur ball nonetheless. Okay, well, off from our scat, or our fur ball on the ground, back to Taylor McCurdy, who's still bumbling.
Yeah, because we haven't found any animals yet. So, we did see lots of buffalo dung. I think a small breeding herd of buffalo have actually passed through. I don't know where they've gone now. They look like most of the tracks are sort of headed south, so that way. And we're looking. Hello, Treehouse Dam that's drying up. Hey, very quickly. Very, very quickly. And that's not just from the sun, of course, evaporating all that water, but also from all the different animals that'll be drinking from it. All the birds, all these different things. They'll all be contributing to that pan, or that, I suppose it's a seasonal pan. It doesn't get pumped with water at all. It dries up. So once the big herds of buffalo, and if they do start coming back, then we're going to see water disappearing quickly. Definitely, because they often drink in the morning, and then sometimes they even come back and drink a second time later in the afternoon. And when you get big herds of like hundreds of buffalo coming through, you can imagine. And then they go in the water and they splash it out. So every time I see buffalo and elephants going into the water to drink, I always used to shout to my brother and I. Did you get that as well, hey? Doing bomb drops and all sorts of somersaults, hey? Don't splash, keep the water in the pool. I'm going to start saying that to the elephants and buffalo. So anyways, it's nice to know that all the parents in the world shout that. It wasn't just me. I'm so hard done by. Traumatized by that experience. No, I'm just joking. And the bath says, and the bath too. Were you playing with your ducks? And then these guys. I can actually picture Ferg as a really young boy with all his little yellow ducks splashing and spraying water, kicking. Yeah, no, I was like, I was quite well behaved in the bath. I didn't do anything like that. I had bath time. You know what my mom used to do though? She used to feed us in the bath when my younger brother and I were little. And the reason why she did that, she's like, because then you can spit your food back up, you can do all the things, and I don't have to worry about cleaning up a mess. Just hose you off. She did. She said when we were really little and she struggled and we didn't want to eat solids and things like that. She said she spit everything out. So she just said she just did it in the bath. It was the easiest. Bossy Donna's parenting tips. Okay, I don't know where we're looking. I've moved out of the area of the cheetah. I'm not just turning down random roads and driving them, hoping we're going to see something. But luckily James has Tingana. That's nice. At least he's spending some time with the quality. It seems as though no man, Luke. Okay, so it seems as though the Little Mermaid has actually moved on from Tingana. Let's go and see what he's doing now. And Luke wants to know if he also still eats in the bath.
No, I don't think I ever ate in the bath. I was a relatively clean eater as a child, I think, as far as I remember. My brother, not so much, but I don't believe that our mother ever fed us in the bath. That was not an eventuality that happened in the Hendry household. I'm quite pleased about. Although eating in the bath, I suppose, could be considered quite fun, but then bathing in amongst your mashed pumpkin and potatoes, I think, would be unpleasant. What was that? What was that, Luke? My earpiece is not working properly. 1 second, everybody. Something about tasting great. Right. So Luke says there's only one way to learn, and soap doesn't taste great. Yes, I think that's a very good point. Right, let's move. Now, this is where we were walking yesterday when we heard the... Apparently you're all discussing eating in the bath now. Let's focus, people, let's focus. This is where we were walking yesterday when we saw the bushbuck alarm calling at Tlalamba. And so we're going to see if we can see her across the way. Steve eventually had a good sighting of her just across this little riverbed. And we had a fairly decent sighting on foot just in the riverbed. I don't want to go blundering off-road there just yet, though, because it is very thickly misted, as I said, and as you can see. And we don't want to terrify the little cat out of her wits. I don't see anything here, and there's certainly no great indication of alarm from any other animals. Also, there are no tracks on the road, so I wonder if Tundi hasn't perhaps left Tlalamba in the same place and hasn't yet returned. Let's try very slowly through this area. You could miss her so easily. No, Marcy, no one found Tundi yesterday, so I think she's out hunting for Tlalamba and herself, no doubt. But Marcy, no one managed to find Tundi yesterday. I guess it's also a little bit telling that she didn't pitch up at the waterhole, because she will often, if she's in this area, pop down to Djuma Dam for a little drink. We'll tell her Dam for a little drink, and you guys normally pick her up. Okay, we'll keep looking slowly, carefully. Steve, I'm sure, will give you his impressions of where he thinks that little leopard went now.
Oh, well, you just brought back a very nice memory. She was so cute yesterday, that little one. How Rexon spotted her is beyond me, but it was the Nyala calling from, he says, probably from here to that tree over there, so probably about 10-15 meters. The Nyala was away from Tlalamba calling, and that's how they spotted him. He called me right in. She hid under some grass, and we waited for a little while until she came out, started stalking something, and then at the end, when we left, she lay down and she did one of these. It was very sad. But anyway, what we found out here is a pair of impala horns, which probably a little bit older than that lion vomit we saw just now. But this is the remains of a young male. And even as the branches are used as brush packing, this itself here is being used as a little bit of a brush packing, I suppose, for this small acacia that's coming through there. It's very interesting. But that is how it works. We are in this open clearing here. This would be the prime area, prime habitat for the cheetah to be hunting. And this would be the prime sort of food that is going down, not just for Tingana, but also for the cheetah. And an open area like this, they'll be able to see quite a long distance in that very long stride. So I found that really funny, Taylor talking about being fed in the bath as a child. My dad, and actually my dad and his wife, my stepmom, they have triplets, and they've just arrived in the Kruger yesterday. They come up for a week, so it's very exciting. I'm hoping I'm going to get an afternoon off to go and see them. But my dad still tells a story, still today, of how one day when he was with me, I happened to somehow got ice cream on the back of my leg. And that's a story that I'm going to die with, because, you know, if you're walking with ice cream and you get an itchy leg as a child, you just scratch, don't you? So he still marvels at the fact that I was able to get ice cream behind my leg. So I was also a very messy child when it came to eating. Very messy child. My brother, and actually it still holds true with me, because my brother refused to wear clothes apart from his beanie, like what Senzo's got on here. Let me show you what Senzo's wearing. Is it the right zoom, Senz? Yeah. There we go. There's Senzo. My brother used to wear one of these. That's all he'd wear, absolutely nothing else. And I would only wear gloves. Only gloves, but the ones with fingers. So there's some really interesting photos of my brother and I being hosed off with a hose pipe in the garden, because that was the way to do it in Johannesburg. Me with my gloves, my brother his hat. That was it. Yeah, some classic pictures to go back in history. Messy eaters indeed. Almost as messy as the lions, I suppose, except they go and clean themselves with their tongues afterwards. So we are still searching. It is still very misty. Trying to give Tandy a little bit of Timothy. I get an image of, not what flavor, but I get an image of it being green. I don't know. It was a very long time ago, but it stuck with me. I still remember we were at Zoo Lake in Johannesburg. It's a big sort of area you go. There's lots of ducks and geese and things in the park, and ice cream vendors and children. And it stuck with me. I think it was green. I've no idea. What ice cream's green? Anyway, we are keeping our little eyes open in the mist. Hopefully spot a cheetah in the distance, but Taylor is now looking on the ground for some tracks.
We've seen a hyena track. That's what you can see. I'm not going to get out to show you, but the light is still very, very difficult. Now, Ferg and then also an elephant footprint, because that's what we're trying to find. It's the elephants that have been walking around here. Ferg and I had a competition. We basically have a friendly competition. It's now 33 minutes past 7 Central African time, and we're trying to figure out when the mist/fog is going to lift. I say by 10 to 8 Central African time. Fergus said 8:15 Central African time. No, I'm pretty sure I can hear monkeys sort of chattering, and I can hear Franklin. Just going to go forward. Just some sounds coming from here, and I don't know what they are. I don't know where the cheetah are. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully Bushwalk team will find them. We're on Twin Dams now. What's making that bird nervous? I'm just going to keep staring into the strange line so I don't miss anything. Good area to move around in. I don't know if this can happen then. It might be just a Franklin telling stories. Maybe he's feeling a little bit nervous with all the mist around. Nah, I don't know. No. Maybe they're not quite alarming at anybody either.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know where Taylor is, but I know that the cheetah were in a fairly dodgy signal area yesterday, so perhaps that's what's going on now. We found tracks of a male leopard here. We're on Nyala Road South, for those of you who are interested, and that is a road that kind of, well, it runs between two tributaries, if you like, of the Great Umloamati drainage. If you want to know what roads we're on, and if you are interested in the roads, the Google Maps of Djuma has all of the road names, all accurately marked. So if we ever mention a road name and you'd like to know exactly where it is, just go to Google Maps and have a look there, and you will find it. And I'm pretty sure that the male leopard tracks we had here were of Tingana, who probably cut off and turned back towards the north. I've had no tracks of Tandi or Talamba around here, but we will keep searching, obviously. But that is what we must do. Ah, I see a game drive vehicle in front of us, which is probably Texan. It is, yes. He is driving out of Uyatela. Cobalt mist like this happens, well, relatively frequently, I guess, in the winter, but not normally this thickly. This is very unusual. I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year that it hangs around for this length of time. Anyway, let's go up back towards where that leopard was yesterday. So we're going to cross the Great Umloamati. There we are, doing it now again. And we'll head off towards the east for a little while. Haven't seen anything else, not a bird. Well, if you saw one hornbill and one steenbok, but otherwise it's been very quiet out here. We could have driven past a herd of leopards and a great flock of lions, but the mist is so thick that we wouldn't have seen them. Romit, you say, how does it feel to be welcome back in these freezing temperatures? It's really not that cold, and I'll tell you one thing that I did while I was on holiday. I was down in the Eastern Cape with my folks, and they and their friends have a tradition now where they go down to the beach on the winter solstice, morning of the winter solstice, and everyone has to swim. There's quite a lot of brandy, rum and glühwein consumed at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is quite amusing to watch people not in their youngest years rushing around semi-naked and drinking all of this kind of stuff at 7 in the morning. Anyway, I joined in the great event, had a swim in 6 degrees Celsius it was. That's a good 10 degrees colder than it is here now. And so it's really not that cold here. We just complain a bit because it's colder than it is in summer. But in the middle of the day yesterday, it was a good 82 degrees, 85 in fact, so 26 centigrade. So to call this a winter, well... And also in the mist, it's warmer than it would be otherwise. You know, as soon as there's a bit of cloud cover like this, it tends to trap a bit of the heat in. It warms up a bit more slowly, but it's really not very cold. I think the coldest temperature we had was about 58 degrees today. I've been hinting wildly towards the FC, but they've yet to give me the temperature. I am struggling with my earpiece today. I'm sorry about that, Luke. Oh, it was 12 degrees earlier. I don't think it didn't feel that cold, but it probably was probably accurate. Can you go again, Luke, with Ryan's question? Oh, Ryan, it doesn't really happen. dams just don't ice over in this area. And so, yeah, I mean, it can happen in some of the high-lying parts of the Drakensberg, down into the Eastern Cape, and an area that we know as the, what do they call it? East Griqualand, it's called. There, I suppose some of the dams might freeze over just with a little crust of ice in the mornings, and they do get snow, but not for any length of time. So really there's nowhere in South Africa where a river or dam will freeze completely and where animals will be totally unable to access water. Nowhere here does it ever get that cold. I mean, the coldest it will stay in a place like East Griqualand during the day is probably about 10 or 12 degrees. So it will always warm up to a certain extent. And certainly to the extent where water doesn't remain frozen. Okay, the mist is lifting slightly. I'm going to drive a little bit faster towards the east. In the meantime, Steve remains on the tracks of the lions.
Haven't found any tracks, but we're kind of in the area where we think they were last seen. Somewhere in the mist there. Somewhere in the mist. Now we're going to move in, go back. That's back towards where Hukumuri was the other day, where the cheetah was seen yesterday. Who knows what we might reveal, but something I've just spotted here on the ground while observing the mist from a distance is a little digging done very likely by a porcupine, and it's busy dug up this root, which is like an onion. Very, very skin-like, little tuber under the ground. Not very fresh. All that organic material being sort of peeled off, and the very nutrient-rich roots or tuber that was inside it has been eaten. All that's left is the skin, the organic material, and a little hotspot, as always, for plants and seeds to grow, and a nice little dynamic patch right there. Oh, here we go. Here's bits and pieces of whatever root that was. Hard to say, actually, what it might have been. If it was a porcupine, it might even have been some mongoose. Hard to say, but there you can see it's been munched off at the top by some teeth. And that's where these animals can also get their moisture. So you don't have to go to the watering holes to get a drink. You can also find them in roots and tubers underground. And animals that live in the deserts get most of their moisture from the ground. Steenbok are even able to dig up We're going to go through into the block here, see if we can find any sign of these very fast cheetah. Because, I mean, Rexton and I have both been thinking, we doubt that they've moved off because they can't see. Eyesight is imperative for them. And that mom, being a very good mom, would just stay put. Stay where you are. Because that's one of the safety things out in the bush. If you ever do get lost, just stay where you are. Don't move. Because by moving, you're just going to... Oh, sorry, Marshall. Did you lose us? Marshall, question, are porcupines rodents? Yes, porcupines are indeed rodents. They are the largest rodent we find in southern Africa, and their teeth are constantly growing. Front teeth are constantly growing, and they're constantly gnawing things down, and that makes their teeth a little bit smaller, but they're constantly growing. So we're going to go in here and see if we can find the cheetah mum and her two youngsters. That's the last place they were seen, somewhere in there. And Rex and I both agree that they probably haven't moved because it's very hard to see, and being a cheetah, you're not going to move if you can't see. Just like survival tip number 1, if you get lost in the bush, or if your car breaks down somewhere, don't leave it. Just stay where you are. Stay where you are, but we're not going to stay where we are. We're going to move off into the wilderness.
Well, we are almost at one of our destinations. We are driving down towards Chitwa Dam, where I really don't think we're going to see anything this morning. Oh my goodness. Might see the silhouetted dead trees in the... Not even. This is unbelievable, actually. Yeah. Yeah, Ferg says the first time we're not going to get the Eiffel Tower, the big repeater that you normally see when you're down here. No, you can barely see anything. I almost thought I was going to call a buffalo, but it wasn't. It was just a nest. Big buffalo weaver's nest. Hi, hippos in the mist. I should probably put the car into gear. That's better. Here we go. Can't see anything. We won't stay here for very long. We will probably we're just having a quick look. It is a very interesting picture. I actually have one very similar to this. It's taken at Sable Dam in the Kruger National Park. One morning it was very, very misty. It was beautiful. I also had a big dead tree with lots and lots of hippos around, which was quite nice. Yeah, it does look like a different place. It's almost unrecognizable. The hippos don't seem to be playing around in the mist. They're all just resting up, taking it easy. And here the Egyptian geese, of course, they never take it easy. They're so stressed out all the time. Well, they seem like they're stressed out. Hello, little hippo. Doing a big yawn. Would be nice to see one of the little ones out of the water. Cody, yeah, I suppose they do stay active. I mean, you'll see things like impala and the various antelope species and some of the birds. They'll be all fluffed up and obviously be quite chilly. They might be huddled together. And then you'll see things like the predators, like leopards and lions, hyena and cheetah. They'll all be on the move. Well, cheetah, I suppose, are used to the moving around in the warmer temperatures. So are the lions and leopards. But they don't seem to mind it too much. Sometimes you'll also see lions all on top of one another, piled up, but then they would be utilizing a day like today. That's lovely. So peaceful. This is where I'd like to be on a canoe and just sort of paddling through on the mist and then get eaten by a hippo, yes. That would be that's how African horror stories are formed. Not the American horror story, but the African horror story, yes. We could do one. She went out onto the lake, never to return. We need James's deep voice, though, to say that line. Maybe we can ask him to say it. The African zombie apocalypse, where all of a sudden an impala that a leopard had killed 3 weeks ago and feasted upon decides to, I don't know, how to gather all its bones again and, that's very creepy, very terrifying. Let's not talk about that. Safari dead. Right. This conversation is spiraling, but we're going to let it spiral a little bit longer because we need to hear James, of course, with his lovely deep voice. I can't speak.
It was the winter of 2018. I was an adventurous young woman looking for adventure. So it was that on a misty morning I came down to the shores of Lake Chitwa. And instead of enjoying the songs of the winter birds, I went in search of adventure. The first thing I did was to single-handedly cut down an enormous Diospirus tree with my penknife. Then, using the screwdriver on the penknife, I hewed and cut and sawed out the wood until I had created a dugout canoe. And then I set forth into Lake Chitwa. Slowly I floated across the surface Waveless it was, with just the odd bubble popping up from where a catfish had disturbed the mud below, the slight whiff of methane filling my nostrils. The only sound audible at that stage was the distant call of the hardy-dar, and the lapping of the water up against my dugout canoe, freshly made from the trunk of Diospirus mespeloformes. I paddled using my hand, which was perhaps less than wise, for I knew that in the mists and beneath the murky surface lurked reptiles of the crocodilian variety and hippopotamus of the mammalian variety. About half an hour into my traverse of Lake Chitwa, I heard a splash up front, but I could not see it, for the mist was too thick. In fact, it seemed to be thickening all around me, to the extent that when I held my hand in front of my face, I could only see one finger. And I realized eventually that it wasn't a function of the mist that meant I could only see one finger. It was that my other 4 fingers had been eaten off by a crocodile. But it was so cold that I couldn't feel them. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's go and find out if that's how Taylor thought her morning would go.
Well, James, it's funny that you say that, because that's exactly how I lost my left hand. I mean, yeah, pretty incredible. That's I can't. That's a great story. But thank you very much, James. Is that are you going to call it Where Have the Goslings Gone? That's why I searched all around on Chitwa Dam. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous, of course. I like that story, and I think we've got something going here. Do you know what? It looks like Chitwa Dam is never ending at the moment. It's just so white. You can't tell the water from the sky. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen this before. It's pretty impressive. That's, of course, the big tree that the guinea fowl like to roost up in, and, of course, where all the buffalo weavers have built their homes, built their nests. But you can't see any. You can't see Chitwa Lodge is directly behind all of that, maybe about 200, 300 meters from where we are. But you can't see it. I mean, anything could be there. There could be a whole pride of lions walking on the other side of the dam, and we'd never know. You know what would be quite cool now is if we could just see that African darter. It would very much look like the Loch Ness Monster of Chitwa Dam if it was swimming in the water, hey, and then pops up for a breath with its sort of very long snake-like neck. Or maybe we do just see the Loch Ness Monster. Who knows, the African equivalent. Anthony, I don't know, you know what, we'll let you know once we create a book. It will be one of James's seen as though he's the keen, right? So he could probably tell a few more tall tales about all of us. But we'll probably move on from Chitwa Dam now and see what else we can find, or if you go back to Bushwalk.
I am just laughing listening to it. I would love to get a audiobook of James, especially narrating Taylor's death. Chitwa. Oh, he's definitely come back fresh and full of beans from his leave, hasn't he? So anyway, folks, and those of you who've been watching the show for the last few months will notice we've spoken a lot about dung. And what's very obvious about this one is it's obviously elephant dung, if you weren't sure. Have a look at the size of this pile here. There's a very big pile of elephant dung. But the color on the outside is very characteristic of this time of year because they're feeding on lots of vegetation from trees, leaves and bark. So you get all these sticks. And the reason why it looks kind of yellow inside is the oxidation happens on the outside. So the oxidation on the outside causes the tannin-rich, moist dung to go orange like that. So that's what tannin is for. Tannin is used for what binds to protein. So it's able to cure leather, make leather nice and soft and pliable. For example, the boots I've got here have been tanned so that they don't, obviously they get soft and they don't just become these hard things that aren't usable. So it makes them soft and pliable. And that tannin binds to protein, so it sort of prevents them from breaking down. So this time of year we get lots and lots of elephant dung of this color, because that's what they're feeding on, the medicinal value. And what's interesting about it is it's got an orangey sort of color to it. And the locals would use, because, you know, my morning discussion will be a lot about the magic guarri plant. And the locals will use the magic guarri, the bark of it, which I'll detail a little bit, to make a brown dye. And last week, I think it was last week, I made a purple dye. And my socks are looking rather purplish. They are indeed. But you can make a nice brown dye, because locals will use lots of grass material out here to make baskets. And the grass has sort of got a yellowy sort of color to it. And I don't know why, but baskets just look so much nicer when they're brown. So they'll actually use the dye from magic guarri and other types of plants to make it nice and brown. Tom, elephant dung is a very good fire starter. In fact, I will take a little bit with me, because we are going to start our medicinal segments in a little bit. We're just going to find a nice open patch where we can see clearly and we can place our things on the ground. But elephant dung, a very good means of medicinal information and fire. So let me stretch my legs after Stefan nearly broke us yesterday. Okay, well, it seems like Taylor has found something in the mist.
So remember how we were just telling you about the African darter being the African equivalent of the Loch Ness Monster? Well, it's not in the water, but it's quite eerie with the way that it's sitting up now. It's only about maybe 80 meters from us in the middle of Chitwa Dam, but you can barely see it. And of course it's creating the most beautiful views this morning. That is just simply stunning. Come on, why don't you just dive on in and swim around for us? That would really make our day. Very, very nice. That would make for a very pretty picture. I tried to take one, but it's not working very well, unfortunately. It's a bit too sort of far away. The fish eagles are singing. Also starting to hear everybody in the lodges waking up, starting to hear the workshops opening up, trucks reversing and all sorts of wonderful things. Not even the mist could keep everybody from doing their work today.
Reminds me of London.
Does this remind you of London? Very nice. And all those wonderful things. Okay, let's carry on. I'll just keep driving further and further into the mist. Yeah, today would have been a difficult day to do a birding challenge. I'm glad we didn't set ourselves up for one. There, with what? Yeah, exactly. We'd all be on your maximum bird count, 10 birds. And that we would have won because we came to Chitwa Dam. Otherwise, no one would have been able to have competed with us. Oh, can't see anything. Wow. How crazy is that? Oh, look, Ferg, have you seen that hippo over there? Can you see that one? There's one more hippo over there. You see it? Just pretending to be a rock. Or is it? Right, back you go across to James.
What is that?
That was a rock, was it? Bad luck. I'm afraid we haven't had any more success here. We stopped for a hornbill, which was very exciting, and then it flew away. Ooh, there's a bird. Oh, there it goes. Look at that, Sebastian. He's hiding, an astounding bird, one that we see, well, only 3 or 4 times every day. You see him there? He is. He's in the tambuti tree there. It's going to be a gorgeous picture of him in this light. What a picture. Look at that, a blob. A black blob. Moving. And in case you're wondering, everybody, that is the forked-tailed drongo. One of only 3 blackbirds we get here. Oh, and he's flown away. How fantastic. Oh, there he goes. So Taylor's lost her bet with going to lift, of course. She said it was going to lift by 10 to 8. We're past that stage now. I think we're about 8 o'clock. And, well, Sebastian reckons that Fergus is going to lose also. I think he is too. This mist doesn't seem like it's going anywhere at all. Right, we're round about where Steve saw Kalamba yesterday. We haven't found any tracks, and we have found where Tingana came from. So Tingana came from Torchwood all the way to the east, and down through here, went south a bit, and obviously then back up towards the pan where we found him this morning. Well, I like to say where we found him, where you, of course, found him, and then we went in to have a closer look. So I'm at a slight loss as to what to do now, because we've found no further tracks. Let's head towards Buffelshoek Waterhole, see what's going on over there. There were some tracks of elephants as well, so we might be lucky in that respect. I'm glad Taylor hasn't actually lost her hand. That would have been very unfortunate. But we are going to drive very, very slowly because it's still quite difficult to see what's going on out here. We walked down here yesterday, also didn't find anything. And it was just after, oh, here we go. Here we go. Here's tracks of Tundi. Here are tracks of Tundi. Right, okay. And that looks like Kalamba as well. I'll try and point them out to you. Definitely weren't here yesterday. Can you see down there, Seb? Or shall I go back a bit? There's some others further on here. Here. That's Tundi, I think. No? Dying. Camera's dying. It's good. So that's Tundi. See it? Yeah. Just see her there. It's difficult in this light to be able to show you anything obvious. Yes, there is one of Kalamba's closer to the car. Kalamba's one I can't see anymore. Where's Kalamba's track? 1 second, everybody, I will find it. Oh, the angle's dreadful. Sorry, let me have a look here. How on earth did I see it before? This is embarrassing. Yeah. No, that's Tundi as well. Can you see that one? Okay. Oh, here's Kalamba. Yeah. So they've been here. They're going back down the other way. So I think we're going to turn around again, which is good because there's no signal up this road. All right, I'm going to get back in the car now. Plug myself in. You may speak now, Luke, if you wish to have a word with me. Now you're all apparently very excited to see the two of them together. Well, let's hope we can now actually go and find them together. There's the sun. Look at that, Seb. That's a relief, eh? Very exciting. So the mist is lifting. Fergus, maybe you're right. Maybe you'll be lucky. Okay, let's turn around. And let's go back across to Taylor now to hear her eat humble pie about the lifting mist.
Well, Ferg and I are now trying to figure out if we said before the mist lifts or till we see the sun. Can anyone remember what we said? I thought we said until we see the sun, and if that in that case, then I don't know, but we can see the sun now. Like, you can't see it properly, but it's definitely there. It's a giant golden ball. Is that not the moon? Oh, it could be the moon. No. Luckily, I don't know though, I can't remember, because yes, I'm happy to be wrong though. I didn't think I was going to be right. I'm only good at guessing what we're going to have for breakfast, that's all. What are we going to have today? I'll rather play that game, but Fergus is winning so far. Although I think we're going to have missed right until the end of game drive at this rate. It's so thick still. So I'm trying to think what we're going to have for breakfast. Let me start guessing now, because a lot of people said yesterday that I'd asked Amanda what we're having for breakfast. You think we're going to have humble pie? Says her. Ha 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 ha. Humble pie. It's delicious, especially with cream. I don't know what we're going to have for breakfast yet. I'm going to have to try and think and connect my telepathy with Amanda, the chef. I don't know how I keep guessing what we're going to have for brunch all the time. It's bizarre. I'm so sorry, Luke. Please, can you... Oh, the mist lifting. Thank you, Henk. Okay, so it was that. Okay, well then, yeah, no, I didn't win. And then I don't think Ferg is going to win either. Because I think in 15 minutes, it's still probably going to be very much the same. I think what we're going to do now is drop down into the Mulwati and then do a bit of a cruise to see what we could find. Maybe the elephant tracks that I saw earlier, maybe they will be around. And then there were rumblings about some lions being, I don't actually know, in Little Gowrie somewhere. Somewhere. We'll need to be listening out for that in case some lions decide to cross onto the property. I don't know anything more. I just bumped into Paul from Little Gowrie and he was a bit of a bumble and he just said he heard something very quickly about lions.
Sorry about that. Again, I'm not sure where Taylor is, that she's having such troubles with her signal. Anyala. Oh my goodness. Look at that, Seb. Let me go forward. Have you got a picture? Oh. Our cup runneth over. Good morning. How are you? Little chilly out here, isn't it, Nyala? Yes. They are really very beautiful animals. It's getting a little bit warmer now. There he goes. No further tracks of the leopards. And so I think we might do a little foray into the area where Tlalamba was yesterday. I'm hearing a vehicle coming towards us out of the mist. I think they were lost. That's right, yes, they were. They're trying desperately to get to Tingana. Robert, no. You know, the same number of species have been in the Kruger as have been for forever. I suspect perhaps you're asking, are the numbers of antelope increasing? Well, the answer is, I suppose, to a certain extent, in some areas there might be, but I think the species composition will be changing slightly. In that not the composition of species, sorry, the relative numbers. So I think you'll find that the impala are probably slowly dropping down slightly with the closure of water points. And you'll find wildebeest, for example, and hopefully things like sable and roan, I'm hoping their numbers will be increasing. I think overall the biomass of antelope will remain relatively constant. We did have that nasty, nasty drought a few years, 2 years ago now, and that would have wiped out quite a few. But those numbers will now be increasing again. But Kruger's a fairly stable ecosystem. There we go. Steve thinks that it is yesterday at the moment, and so he's going to give you a medicinal update.
Well, thank you very much, James. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget this is interactive, and please send through your questions and comments. #SafariLive, or follow us on the YouTube stream. Let us know what you think. First of all, disclaimer, I'm going to do a little bit of medicinal introduction and chats about the magic guarri plant that I'm lovely perched underneath here in the open clearing. It is a very lucky charm I have around my neck. And ideally, we talk about these things because there's lots of medicinal value in nature. By no means does that mean you need to give up your doctor and all your prescribed medication to run out there and to eat all the vegetation you can. Obviously, you have to take care and think about these things. But there's lots of things out in nature that have been used and will still be used for a very long time in South Africa itself and across the world. And this is just one of them. And obviously take with caution, so think about it. Don't just take things you are not aware of. You're not a doctor, and neither am I. I'm just here to impart some information. So what we've got is the magic guarri. As you can see, we've been talking a little bit about it. It is quite an encroaching species, but what I've done is I've harvested some bark. And what I'm going to do is I've got some water on the boil here, because this bark apparently can be used to make some dye, some brown dye. Now, this is some older bark. This is very red, sort of bigger, thicker wood, and this is from a smaller tree. So I'm not sure how well it's going to work, but I'm going to throw some of this into the water. Ideally, I should chop it up a little bit fine, bring it to the boil. Let me just give it a little stir, shall I? Bring it to the boil and let it sit for about an hour. Now, obviously, we don't have an hour, so we're going to jump between me and other people while we do these things. But while that is busy bubbling away, the magic guarri plant is a very interesting plant indeed. And what I've done as well is an elephant pushed over a tree, and it broke some of the plant, and I have got some of the bark here. And the bark is the most awesome part of the plant. You can see the difference in the colors there between the roots and the bark. So this is the bark of the roots. And now the magic guarri is regarded as a purgative. So while this is busy sort of boiling away over there, what a purgative is something that causes your body to void itself. So it will cause you to vomit and cause you to also defecate and diarrhea. So anything that might be ailing the body inside, you can take magic guarri to assist in pushing these things out. So while this is boiling, I've also boiled my my little very nice camping pot. And the idea after this is I don't want to purge myself or Senzo, so we are just going to do this for the coloration, to see what the color looks like. And we are going to make an infusion with the roots. There's maybe a little bit too much water there, actually. Let me just pour that out for now. Going to make a small infusion with these roots. It's very sustainable. I didn't take too many roots. So we're just going to take these roots and put them in the water. Now, infusion is not a decoction. A decoction, you boil it for about 8 to 10 minutes. An infusion is basically like making tea. So hot water, and then, let me just get that in there, stir it up, and let it simmer for 5 to 8 minutes, and then serve. So once that is sort of warmed up a little bit. Henk, yes, you're very right. Not many animals eat the magic guarri. It gets left alone. There are enormous amounts of tannin in the leaf. Watch my face. Are you ready? It is very bitter. Lots of tannin. The fruits get eaten. The tree gets left alone almost entirely. They're not browsed. It's just the fruits. And the fruits are really quite nice. They're purple little fruits like that. And actually, I think Taylor's tried to dye her teeth before. They make a very nice purple ink. Purple ink. So while we let this tea brew, we're going to go over to James with something very special.
We've got Tandy, the leopard, in case you were wondering. There she is. You can see her very torn left ear, very distinctive, female leopard, roughly the same age as Tingana. And she's being viewed not only by us and a vehicle full of delighted people, but also a kudu that's shouting at her, going, "Ho!" That's a Nyala. Nyala shouting at her. Isn't that lovely? Let's just see if we can't see him make his noise. I'll tell you if Tandy moves. Tandy's just sitting looking. Come on, give us a shout. The mist is still very thick. And it is 8:15 now, which means that Fergus too is incorrect. Come on. Oh, I was really hoping to see him call. Well, I walk in the rain. It depends entirely on your perspective, I suppose, but I'm very pleased for you that you say Tandy has saved the day again. I didn't really feel the day was particularly appalling, but yes, certainly since we found Tingana, this is the best thing we've seen by a long shot. Now, I'm hoping that she's going to lead us back to Tlalamba. And I do apologise, I'm unable to say Tlalamba in any other way. We could be in for some serious driving now. Tails up in the little peace sign. There it is, flicking away. All right, I'm going to try and get through this bush and follow her. Let's go back to Steve and find out what his guarri tea is like.
So I'm a little worried to drink it because guarri tea, well, we still got the bark busy brewing here to see what kind of dye we're going to make. I don't know if we're going to have enough time this morning to get the proper redness or brownness out of it. But here, indeed, let me just throw that water away to your little plant over there. Beautiful little plant. So I'm going to sieve it out. I've got a very nice little sieve now. How nice is that? So the infusion has sat for a little while. I'm going to pour it in here. Ooh, look at that lovely colour. It's a lovely colour, isn't it? Nice and sort of orangey golden from the roots. Now, I said it's a purgative, so to be able to drink this, obviously you need to be quite careful because you need to be quite close to a bathroom and a bucket, perhaps, because all sorts of things are going to happen to you after drinking. Oh, let me just turn off my gas. And as we like to test coloration, I've got my sieve, my syringe, should I say, and there is a nice colour there from that little brew. And what you can do is you can actually use this if you've got earache. Is you can use this for earache. You could put a few drops in your ear, maybe a little bit of cotton wool to hold it in place, and it'll help any ear infection you might have. But by drinking this, it can help with many sort of abdominal problems. If you've got diarrhea, apparently this will cure it, because what it does is the purgative. It causes you to void whatever diarrhea you might have left, and also helps to cure with all sorts of abdominal problems. So anything from the chest down, be it pregnancy pain, be it stomach problems. I'm going to taste it, just a little taste. Just a little taste. But everyone's joking that I'm not. There we go, squirt. So eardrops, abdominal pain. So anything in the chest cavity down apparently helps with pregnancy pains, so possibly menopause type of pains, as well as any sort of liver ailments, stomach disorders, things in the intestine. But that is quite a broad topic, abdominal pain. But what it does is, and there's a lot of cures out there or thought behind the acts of purging. So causing your body to void all the contents. It's like going through a little bit of a detox. You get everything out that might not be helpful. Things that are sitting in the colon, things that are sitting in the intestine. It basically forces everything out. And often that can lead to you feeling a little bit ill for a day or two, but then slowly but surely you come back again. What else was there? Yeah, each of you, I think it could be a little bit like a liver cleanse as well, but I'm not 100% sure about liver. But anything in the abdominal cavity that basically sits sort of anywhere in here. But not only diarrhea will it help, because it is a purgative, it will cause your constipation to vanish quite quickly, and your constipation will obviously clearly come out. That's why you need to be quite close to a watering hole of sorts, a water closet. So I'm going to have a little taste. Senzo, you're going to have a taste?
Yeah.
A little one. It's been known also to help with convulsions. So convulsions are spasms, something muscular contractions that people might get during epilepsy. Children, when they have fever, might get convulsions. So apparently this can help with that as well. But obviously dosages and how exactly it's used, you need to be very, very careful. Doesn't smell great. It's not bad. It doesn't have much taste. Where's my honey? Okay, Senzo, your turn. Cheers, it's hot. Senzo's going to have a bit and see how he holds the camera steady. Lovely, lovely. Okay, well, while we wait for the magic worry to do its thing with inside of my body, let's go and see how Taylor's getting on down at Chitwa.
Wait, I also need some good luck. Do you want a piece as well? Right, Ferg and I are ready. How does it stay on your head? I'll just use this. We'll just do a small Fergie string. That looks like mistletoe now, Ferg. I'm not even doing a safari today. It's silly safari somehow. I've now got all the... Is this how you do it? Can I stick it in my ponytail or does it have to be on my head? I don't know. I didn't know that the Guari branch brought good luck. We'll just do that. This is disastrous. Come on, Jigger. Okay. That'll have to do. Okay, so now we've got our Guari branches on our heads and in my hair. And also on the camera to bring us some good luck for the rest of the safari. So we're going to go back and try and look for the cheetah again and see if this helps and brings us some luck. We'll let you know. I've lost mine. Where'd it go? How did I lose it? Well, that was very unlucky. Yes. Oh, that's me done now. That's us done. We tried. Our luck, it's not working. The Guari branches are broken. Anyways.
I'm starting to think this medicinal guy is not really what he's cracked up to be.
Ferg is now not so certain of dear old Stivovo and his medicinal. What do we? Yeah, where did he get his medicinal degree from? We want to know. We want to see paperwork. I'm just joking. Okay, so we're gonna head back into the area where we think the cheetah are. Sorry, I didn't realize that those bumps were so big there, and I was maybe going a little bit too fast. So we'll go back down that way. There could be. We might have to drive Zoe's road just in case, and then go back around. But nobody has called in any cheetah sightings down in the west, so they're still somewhere around here. Anyways, I thought I heard something about Guari's brewing and letting it sit, all sorts of things. I thought that's how you make a cup of tea. Anyways, let's go back to, well, the medicinal man himself.
Well, thanks, Taylor. I hope that brings you some... I'm just trying to boil this bark very high so that we can get all the colors out. They're not showing the color I'd like, but obviously it's all about time. We'll talk about guarries brewing. If you happen to get hold of a lot of guarri seeds, you can actually brew them and make quite a nice, well, apparently a natural beer. That gets people excited. Natural beer. But the seeds, the fruits also make, as I said before, natural ink. And those of you out there who've seen the show before will know very, very well and truly that the magic guarri branch can also make a very nice toothbrush, which I've fashioned here by just taking a branch, cuts off the bit there, and bitten this a little bit, and there's a nice brush for your teeth. And that goes hand in hand, because if you take this guarri root, it's actually apparently good for toothache. It's okay, it'll do. So the name Euclea divinorum, we said before, which the traditional healers would eat it to give a sort of a future reading. The other reasoning is that with the guarri sticks themselves, you can actually divine water to find out where the water is. So there's those two thoughts. The traditional healer giving a future reading as well as someone finding water. But what is 100% true is that the magic guarris, where they grow, indicate that there is water there. So you don't need to go cut a branch and go looking with a divination stick. Just dig where the guarri branch is and you'll probably find water. Okay, very good. So we're going to have a look at this. I'm not sure, Graham, about the uptake of nutrients in humans. I have no idea. But there we go. Look at the bark. It's starting to get a little bit of a brown color. Obviously, if we had to leave that for longer, let me get my syringe test. Okay, it's not great. Look at that compared to, it's almost the same as the roots now. And the roots were just in infusion. The reason we boil things in a decoction, boiling it 8 to 10 minutes, is to really get those ingredients out. And with the bark, we're looking to get all that color and all the tannin out. And the tannin, obviously, like my boots and like the elephant dung, we're looking to get that darkish color to try and sort of dye whatever it is that we need. But that is the end of Medicinal Mondays on Tuesday. I've been wanting to do that all morning. Well, thank you for joining us on this little segment with us in the wilderness. I wonder who won, because Taylor, the sun, has come out. Oi. There goes a small accipiter, just flew over as I pointed to the sky and the sun that has come out. Mr. Jonas, this is quite a tree indeed, a lucky tree. I hope it brings luck to all those who are searching for it. And I'm going to leave this branch on my neck for the rest of the morning, but it seems like James needs a branch in order to relocate that leopard.
No, he does not still have Thandi. Thandi went into some hellishly thick bush, and then we got stuck behind some of that bush, and by the time we got out the other side, she disappeared. Let's have a look at that derv for the moment. I'm pretty sure that she's heading back again. There we go. No. Sorry everyone, we're going to have to reboot this camera. We'll try once more. No. Sorry Steve, we're going to have to reboot. Apparently we don't have any of the other feeds, so we're just going to stay wide and wait here for a few seconds. Just listening out, see if I can't hear any alarming. So the fact that she was heading off towards that Nyala made me think that she hasn't made a kill and is trying to make a kill today. But she was heading back vaguely in the direction of where we had Tlalamba yesterday. Oh, it's starting to warm up a bit. It's very nice. Yes, seems to be working. Oh, there we go. Very nice. Ah. Beautiful. That is fantastic. So that is the ring-necked dove, in case you were wondering, aka the Cape turtle dove. And in case you're also wondering, it is not the most obese Cape turtle dove in the world, it's just a little cold. It's puffed all its feathers out. Be quite nice to be able to do that. Looks very snugly. Are you feeling snugly, Cape Turtley Dove? Let's make sure the leopard isn't crossing the road behind us. No, doesn't seem to be. I'm very pleased that you're all enjoying the dove. There is a go-away bird making a little bit of a ruckus just behind the Cape Turtle Dove. So maybe said go-away bird has spotted the leopard coming this way. The mist is still stubbornly refusing to lift. It is getting a little bit brighter, but it's not exactly glaring out here. Well, that was very pleasant, wasn't it? Yes, good. Let's continue. Alrighty, I think Taylor's managed to find some signal, so let's head back and see if her guarri berries on her head have given her luck.
No, because they fell out. So now we've got no luck. I've got something in my teeth. Do you think this will help if I put it on my gums like this? And do James, and he eats the buffalo. Oh, let's do the buffalo thorn challenge today. I think it's quite nice. I don't know, Steve, do gory leaves do anything to your teeth? Perhaps is it better than whitening toothpaste? I can't get it to stay here. It's really difficult. It's like the equivalent of bush grills. Wonderful. Okay. We're going to try and find... It does match my jacket. Thank you very much, Luke. You know, I'm always trying to be in style. So we're back on Balanites Road now. Just having a little drive. No new tracks or anything just yet. No, I don't know where Rexon and Stivovo and them all are. I know they were coming into this area. Perhaps they've already zigzagged their way through. But I think we'll check Impala Plains quickly. We might do a slow drive back down Triple M just to quadruple check that they haven't crossed back now since this morning. But I can't imagine they'd want to hang around in this thick stuff, you know, all day long. It'll be difficult for them to try and catch something in here. Just check this area for any tracks. Although it's quite nice is when the three of them walk on the road together, it does make for spotting tracks very easy. Please say that again. James, do you think we've just got a big green screen up? With basically just like the look of the Sabi sand, there's a fan, you've got us. This is not real, this is not a real show at all. This is all a big illusion that has been created for you, James. Just... Yes, yeah, can we go to Star Wars, please? Oh, we should have done that this morning when I had my lightsaber with the mist and the light. You know, I know. Not sadly, yes, of course, this is really, 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 really real. No, nothing is fake. Otherwise, I would have been looking at... Can you imagine? Oh, yes. We would be having all sorts of animals. I'd be viewing tigers right now if this was all not real. What's wrong? Oh yes, I had my lights on because it was very misty down at Chitwa, Rexon, and I was worried that a car was going to drive into me. Hello?
5 minutes ago.
What is the time? None of us. I did.
Sneaky easy.
Since I was doing the freeze technique there. So yes, no one won. No, I'm going to start sneezing again. And nothing on this cheetah. Excuse me. Excuse me, everybody. I left them between Mendoza Road and Triple M. I'll go back around and drive on. What are you doing, chicken?
What are you doing? You did this last time.
Yeah, but the difference is that Steve stopped. I'm going to start the car. Yeah. Women drivers, no survivors. That's the saying here in the bush. I'm going to go and check Triple M boundary to see that they didn't cross in between this morning. And I'll have a chat to the bushwalk team just to figure out where we'll start searching. But in the meantime, let's go back to James to see if he's found Tandy.
Well, we haven't had much more luck, I'm afraid. In fact, none at all. So let's keep driving up here. Tingana, by the way, has left the waterhole where he was this morning. Yeah, are those Tingana's tracks? Yeah, they're big. He's gone into Buffels Hook, which is the property to the north of us, of course. So he's not going to be seen again this morning. What have you got? Caterpillars. Yes, they are caterpillars. Well spotted, Sebastian. Let me go and have a look. Let me get out of the car. Hopefully not be eaten by Tundi. No one wants to be eaten by Tundi. Wow. A whole bevy of caterpillars. Huh. They look like processionary worms, which are, of course, are a type of caterpillar, and they could well be. And for those of you who don't know, what they'll do is they'll eventually come down off this plant and go in search of another one. You can see they've denuded it of leaves. It looks like a... oh, it definitely is. It doesn't look like. It's a Rus gwenzii, which we know does have a number of toxic properties for animals eating it. So they're probably quite toxic to birds. And so what they'll probably do is create a long line and then walk off together, confusing birds that might want to eat them. That really is quite spectacularly spotted. Well done. And you can see they've completely denuded this section of the plant of leaves. And bring one closer. Maybe this one here. Well done. Good suggestion there. Yeah. Cool, eh? Just as it starts to warm up, we get a bit of light. One of them just dropped some dung on me. Or, as they say in entomological circles, some frass. Nice, eh?
Very nice, thank you.
Good, we'll put them back. Don't know what they're going to become. Probably some fairly nondescript moth. Yeah, you can sit with your friends now. Ooh, doesn't that feel comfy? Nice to have all those little hairs sticking into you. Right, we do have some very nice light at the moment. Let's see if we can make it count with some spots. There are some nyalas. which look about as distressed as, well, a very undistressed thing. Can you see them?
Yes, yeah, a few made.
There we are.
I think there was a question from Joy, but I just got to repeat it.
Luke, please repeat the question from Joy. I did not have my radio plugged in at the time. Yeah, that's the thinking, Joy. That's exactly what they think. They think that the birds would think that it was a giant worm or snake, perhaps, and avoid it. But I'm not sure if that actually would happen or not. You know, that there must be some reason for it, but whether or not it's confusing birds, I'm not really sure. Alrighty, on we continue. It's really got a nice feeling about it now, this atmosphere. It's turned yellow and pretty. Oh, but this car is broken. There we are. There is a small child who's got hold of the game drive radio and is now talking into it, which is quite amusing. So we'll just have a look-see around here. I'm tempted to just drive into where Kalamba was yesterday, but of course Kalamba is not a statue, and so she will probably have moved during the night, especially as she's 8 years old. I'm really rather hoping Tundi will just pitch up and take us there, and there'll be a reuniting and everyone will be happy. Anyway, as the mist has lifted, so the blue sky is coming out, and Steve will be able to stride out more than he has been.
Yes, well, I'm feeling quite empowered after my medicinal chat, and I'm super glad that we spotted Taylor after the mist cleared. Otherwise, that might have been quite a frightening encounter indeed. A little bit of a spider web in the mist here. A little bit of dew condensating on it. We're not sure if it's coming through very well, though. Looks very beautiful. Have you got it, Sens?
Yeah.
Barely. It's very interesting how the naked eye can pick up certain things, but the camera can't. Yeah, you've got it. Beautiful. Jessica, very good question. Invasive species, first of all, are generally plants. Obviously, we're talking about plants. So the invasive species removal requires often mechanical and chemical measures. Now, obviously, mechanical and chemical measures are quite destructive to an area, but they seem to be one of the only sort of means, two of the only means of doing it. Mechanical means physically chopping, and chemical means spraying some form of herbicide on the plant. And what they are doing now is they're bringing in lots and lots of what we call biocontrol, where they're going to the homeland of that invasive plant. For example, a species we have a big problem with in South Africa is called the black wattle, which is an acacia species, a thornless acacia that comes from Australia. And obviously it's got its own predators and parasites back in Australia. It was brought into South Africa for the leather and tanning industry, and also for wood and all sorts of things. There's a huge industry in South Africa, but these plants escape and they can be quite a problem. So what they're doing for invasive control is they'll go and actually collect species from home, so wasps and beetles that prey on the plant itself. They make galls on the plant, similar to what we have here, gall wasps, They prey on the flowers, but they're specific to that plant. Obviously, because invasives have been brought in long ago without any care, we need to think very carefully about things that we bring in to combat them. You can't just bring things in because you might be introducing something that's going to outcompete something native to the area. So there's lots of labs and research that goes into this, whereby you bring in a plant or you bring in an organism that might come onto a plant itself and cause, I don't have one on this tree, it might cause galls, it might start eating the seeds, it might eat the flowers. So what it does, the biocontrol, is actually limits the reproduction of that plant, and because it makes the plant a little bit sick, the plant doesn't reproduce as much. And then once you've introduced those species into the population of the invasives, then you can go and physically cut them, and what you're doing is reducing the amount of seed, because the biggest issue that invasive plants have is their seed just lies on the ground and it just comes again and comes again. So removal of alien plants is a long-term process. You can't go, oh well, we'll just chop these out here and that'll be it. You're looking at minimum 10-15 years sort of rehabilitation, because the seeds are going to come up again, so it's a long-standing battle that you're going to have to do, and implementing it into your management policy is ideal. And as things change, you add it. And sometimes the problem is that these species absolutely love fire, and in the systems that occur here, we've got lots of fire. Well, I can hear McCurdy somewhere over there. I wonder if she's got any updates for you.
We do. It seems like those cheetah have crossed into Arathusa. I think they've only just managed to find them, so perhaps they were on the move in between sort of us going to Chitwa. So anyways, I don't think it'll be too long before they come back towards us. So maybe give it a few days before they head this way again. No, I don't know. Now I hope for some elephants. That's what I'm really, really hoping for. I'm trying to think where all those tracks went that I had this morning. It might have been them moving last night. Maybe we will check Rebecca's Road. I think we'll drive that one next. It's quite a goodie. Then check Ingwe Alley and around those sort of areas, and hope to find some large pachyderms. But for the moment, except for James, it seems to be really quiet in the bush for everybody else. But I suppose James needs a welcome back present. And 3 times leopards, that's nice. That's a great welcome back present. So obviously the animals must have missed him. So let's see what else we can find. Still like to try and find out where those buffalo went. I don't know where they went. I'm sure that Duggar boy that we saw yesterday morning will be around. We'll keep an eye out for him. What are you, a kingfisher? Can you see it up there? There we go, and then go down. There we go, got him. Hello. It looks like a striped kingfish. You see that black sort of line going around its, well, past the back of its eye? I think it might be a striped kingfish. It's just hopped to the left. It's just sitting, I can just see the top of its head. I know it's basically almost center frame. Very nice. I don't think we'll see it again. It's sort of hiding behind a branch now, so we won't get another view, I doubt it. Yeah. Nah. It's gone behind a branch. What a pity. Oh well. That was a striped kingfisher. Nice. One I haven't seen for a while. There it goes. Okay, next. What are we gonna see? Oh, I'm sad that those cheetah aren't here anymore. I was really enjoying them. They're turning out to be such great characters. Whoop. Now, there's some male leopard tracks going down this way, but I suspect they might be a few days old, but I'll have a closer look. It seems as though James now has swapped roles and is also doing a bit of off-roading.
Yes, we've just come directly into the area where we had Kalamba yesterday. She was knocking about right here. In fact, just over here, and hoping rather that her mother would pitch up and come to fetch her. or that she'd just be sitting in a tree waiting patiently for Mum. We'll do a little turn around here. But we are taking a little bit of a flyer. Also, you know, it's got quite warm now, and I wonder if she wouldn't like to come out into the sun and enjoy a little bit of sunshine after the chilly, misty morning. Seb says this is the perfect little place for a little leopard to hide. It's a perfect little place for an adult leopard to hide as well. But this is the end of the road over here. So let's just look down in here and see if we can't hear any birds calling. Perhaps we can see a little bit of movement, maybe hanging in that tree over there. I'll have a look with my powerful binoculars. Can you feel the change in the atmosphere, everyone? It's got very, very pleasant. One or two chin-spot batises going. A couple of prinias and apellices calling. And the mist has all but completely disappeared. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a leopard anywhere around here. Anyway, we'll have one little turn around and then go back out onto the road while Steve has found something to make him a little bit taller than he is otherwise.
Yes, James, I'm harnessing my inner cheetah, and I'm using the termite mound to scan the horizon, the surroundings. And it's quite helpful to stand up on here. You can hear more, you can see more. Nice elevation. And since the mist has dissipated, the heat has increased. There's, any light that was coming through, the radiation or the UV was inside, and now it's getting quite sweaty. It might be time soon to lose a layer or two. But this termite mound is active, and some very fresh building blocks on the top here. Oh, there's a building block there. It was a bit loose. And that termites cement that together. Little bits of sand, fecal content, and it's moist because it's been brought from the bottom where they have access to water. So if you find a termite mound like this on top of the hill, you definitely know that there's water nearby, and certain trees will favor that and use it for access. Not just the trees, but all sorts of animals use the humidity and moisture of the termite mounds to maintain their body processes. And cheetah like hukumuri, the cheetah and like hukumuri, the leopard, they love to come and stand on top of these things to see if they can spot a deka or an impala or some form of food. And as you can see, James and I are doing exactly the same thing, using some elevation to scan. Well, we've done our scanning. It seems safe up ahead. Tracy, the mist essentially is it's moisture in the air, and as soon as the sun reaches a certain height and the ground temperature warms up a bit, there's this kind of like change as that the sunlight coming through the mist and the warmth of the ground reaches a certain temperature, then the mist just sort of vanishes. It's very interesting, and it's something that you see when you go into mountains, and it's all about an elevation point of view. When you're at the bottom of the mountain, there's nothing, and as you come higher, 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 there's that what we call the dew point temperature, and as soon as it hits the dew point temperature, you get mist. And so what's happened here is the temperature around here and the moisture content in the atmosphere was quite low, and as soon as it changed, the dew point just disappeared. It's almost like a kettle boiling, but immediately. So it's a slow boil, I suppose, and then as soon as it hits the boiling point, it's boiling. But there's that point before boiling where it's not quite boiling yet, if that makes any sense. And that's when it hits a certain temperature, it changes. So the moisture turns into more gas, and it just evaporates back up into the atmosphere. So that is my little quick 20 seconds on on the mist. Cobalt, these termite mounds, it's hard to say how deep, but what you see normally, that generally they say above the ground, you see about a third and 2/3 below the ground. So that can be really, really deep, really, really far down. But they go down to the water table, and I don't know how deep the water table is here. When you're on top of a slope like this, essentially you've got rock underground, and the water table runs up the rock. So if the rock is quite high and the water table's there, that's how deep they'll run. But they'll go as deep as they need to. Some termite mounds, they believe, can go up to 100 meters down in the ground. That is a very long distance, very long distance. What, that's 300 feet. 330 feet. Nice maths there. 330 feet. Can you imagine? And all they're going down, up with the moisture and the wet soil, up and down, up and down. And they have no elevators, just legs and steps. Very interesting indeed. And you can tell access to the termite mound from this aardvark digging. I mean, he's gone in here looking for termites for feeding, and that's where the termite mound is. Over there, we're a good 30 meters away from it at the moment, so there's no doubt that the digging that went in here was to access termite mound there, and how far away we are indeed for a termite. That is that's a country away. Okay, well, we're going to go, and Taylor's got wildebeest.
We found the entire population of wildebeest of the Sabi Sand here on Ingwe Alley, where I was hoping to find elephants. But I suppose these critters will do. You can see they're looking back into the drainage line, because there is one wildebeest who I suspect is the bull, is down in there. And now they're looking at him. Are you going to follow him? Yep. Oh, they're going to go down into the drainage line. Now they've just come out of there. But like sheep. Yeah. They all do. That herd mentality is so strong with these animals. I mean, clearly we see it with the big migration every single year. Yep. So they came from out the drainage line up here just to do a quick loop, and then back down they go. And it's actually one of my favorite routes to walk, the pathway that they're just jumping on now. We often go down there. It's also one of Herbie's favorite routes. Right, off they go. Probably to just do a bit of grazing. There is lots of nice green grass down in the drainage line, actually just under sort of the shady parts of the tree that haven't quite been grazed just yet. So even wildebeest don't need to be out in the open all the time. And they're also quite happy to sort of move and feed in the sort of thicker areas, if that means that they're going to get greener, more palatable grass. Whereas this stuff up here, can't be too tasty whatsoever. There's a youngster. You can see just nibbling around. You can see how they struggle to eat the long grass. See how they're having to stick their snouts right down in the grass and sort of feed around the tall bits and just get the shorter crop bits, courtesy of all the other animals that also feed on grass. And it's nice though, at least it's starting to sort of warm up now. They go one after the other. And they're just feeding very quietly. They don't make as much noise as sort of the elephants do when they're feeding. It's a cow. Oh look, even a little birdie. Should we play a game? Let's see how many people are awake. What bird are we looking at? Hashtag SafariLive. Let us know. Having a little scrape. Let's see what everybody's guesses is. I'm actually going to open my bird up so we can look at a few of the differences between the various species of this animal. Let me just go. I can't even tell you what letter I'm going to, otherwise I'm going to give it away. But just digging in the ground, very much like a chicken, scraping through all the ground litter, turning over leaves, pecking in the soil, hoping that it will, of course, find something delicious to eat. You can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it pecking into the sand. It's quite a loud sound. And also by doing that, We'll keep that beak filed so it doesn't grow too long and curve back towards itself. I saw an interesting picture. It was a little while ago. I actually can't remember when it was. I think it may have been even the exact same species of bird that we're looking at, or a cousin, with its beak almost... Oh, Joy. Almost, not quite a Coqui Franklin. Let's have another guess. Let's see. Coqui Franklins have got bright orange heads, and they look more like a crested franklin, so they're sort of more mottled in colour. Whereas these guys seem to have that uniform brown, and the key identifying feature here is that red mask on its face. That's what you should be looking at, that red mask, and then you can also look at its back legs. Well, it's hard to see now because it's hiding behind the grass. You can look at its spurs too. Joy, now close. We don't get a red-billed spurfowl. Do we even? Is there? Oh, there we go. So I have never seen a red-billed spurfowl out in this area. I actually don't think I've ever seen a red-billed spurfowl. I don't think they occur in the Greater Kruger area, but close guess though. It looks fairly similar. So maybe just change your distribution, but you're on the right track. Jamie, you said a daily Franklin. I'm not even on F's, but no, it's not. It's actually not a Franklin at all. So Joy's correction as to guessing spurfowl was right. So it's one of the spurfowls, except it's not a red-billed spurfowl because they don't occur in this area. They occur a little bit more, I think, on more of the northwest coast, or sort of that side. So not here. There we go. That's the one we're looking for. Thank you, James. You said Swainson's spurfowl. You're 100% correct in saying that. So sort of black legs, a red mask, and then you can also see a double pair of spurs. It's hard to see now, but they should have two spurs. Every now and then you'll get a glimpse, and that's what the differences are between the Franklins and the spurfowls. Might be everywhere. Jason, I don't think that Franklins and spurfowls are related to quails. I think quails are a much smaller species. I mean, a quail in terms of size is probably a third of the size of one of these, so they'll be in a separate family altogether. But they do look similar, but I suppose most ground-dwelling birds do have very, very similar sort of plumage, that typical brown in colour, mottled, little bits of white, obviously to help blend into the vegetation, which is of course down on the ground and underneath the shrubs. So yeah, very nice to see, and a very obliging Swainson spurfowl as well. You know, sometimes you can get confused with the Natal spurfowl, which is what I said this morning. And let me show you a picture of the two. Let me show you the Natal spurfowl, which is down here. Let me just get the angle right. Is it? Can you see it? A little bit. There's a bit of a glare. Sorry, it's always hard to try and... There we go. That's better. A little bit. But you can see it doesn't have that red sort of mask. And then if I go next, it's got red legs. You see that in comparison? And it's got a little bit more white on it, whereas the one we were just looking at has got quite a bit more dark in colour. But very cool. Very nice to see. But that's why this morning, when that one that was sitting on that log, I couldn't see its face at all. And then they're very much the same size. There's not really too much difference in terms of size. Rightio, where are we off to next? We'll just bypass the wildebeest, who have decided not to go into the drainage line. They're just feeding on the edge of it now. Excuse me, coming through. Just slowly move through here. Hi. No, I heard rumblings that James was off his car, perhaps trying to find Thandi and Tlalamba. Let's go see if he's had any luck.
No, I haven't had any luck, but we were off the car having a look for Thandi and Tlalamba. Seb's just saw what he thought was maybe a tail or a bird coming into this area. I don't see either. So let me just, while we're live, stick my head around the corner here. obviously walking very carefully, looking very carefully, being very silent, listening out for any movement, not freaking out when birds flutter up from underneath the bush. Now, if she was in here, she would probably flush and take a few steps away. But I think that Seb and I came across a bird party, basically. And their flutterings in and through the bushes made us think of yesterday. So I don't think she's right here. I'm pretty sure she's in this area. But I don't think she's right here. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll go back around to a few of the other roads that we've been driving on, just see if one of them doesn't pop out. In the meantime, look at this beautiful Kalenko. Can you see this, Sebastian? Now, the interesting thing about this Kalenko is that it has fallen over for some reason, and I think what it's doing is leaning towards where it can find some sunlight. But look how the flowers have, instead of growing out at the normal angle you'd expect them to from the stalk, they've turned up towards the sky and towards the sun. You see that? It is quite amazing. I think that's pretty amazing. Very clever of them. Okay. On we go, on we go. Plug myself in again. You may speak now, Luke. I'm listening to you. Yes, many of you agreeing that it is a beautiful flower. Okay, we're going to go driving round towards where we first had the tracks this morning. Maybe we'll be lucky in the meantime. Steve is still tracking.
Yes, well, we found some little holes on the ground here, and Rexton's just telling me a story about in his childhood, and this is something Senzo's not going to like very much, but these holes on the ground here are evidence of lots of mice. There's a couple of the holes. Here's one here, here's one here. Here's all of the grass material. They've been eating the roots of grasses, and then this is the chaff that they've thrown out. Maybe they've been using some for bedding as well. There's a couple droppings in there. But what Rexton is saying is when he was a youngster, they used to come and actually dig mice out. Or did you eat them? Yeah. What kind of mouse, Rex? Do you know what kind? Edible. They would dig them out for food. And that's what you do when you live out in the wilderness and you need food. You go and search for it. And these telltale signs are what we're looking for. Now, not only us can we learn this, snakes will move around. See, Senzo's hand starts to shake a little bit there. Snakes will be smelling. Pythons, for example, have got a heat sensor on the front of their nose and they actually be able to smell where the rodents are. But what's really, really interesting, and some new science that's coming forward, is that birds like kestrels and yellow and the black-shouldered kite, they believe actually can see the UV signature of urine that's left behind, maybe outside of a hole, or where elephant shrews run around, they scent mark along the way, and they can actually, they'll hover above. They hover. Just like that. And then as the mouse comes out, they can come down, and they can take it down. Very, very interesting. And it's not just the daytime raptors. Barn owls have also got their very big moon-like face, and huge wings, very silent flight. And they'll also fly around. They'll probably find areas like this that they would like as well, areas that are quite specific for mice. And we are right here in a seapline. So there's a very specific type of grass here. Here's a finger grass, but there's lots of this sort of Ceteria sort of stuff. The sea plants, lots of moisture. The soil's quite deep, it's quite sandy, so perfect for digging and for making the holes for the mice. They're sort of habitat, as you will. So we could find snakes, mice, birds of prey moving around, nighttime and daytime. And it's just by looking at a little hole in the ground we're able to talk about all that. Very good. Senzo's walking very carefully now on the pathway. He does not like his snakes. So Luke wants to know if we've got more chance of Senzo running from a lion or a mouse. Well, I think if there's a snake around, we'll definitely get Senzo running very, very fast. Senz, hey, how fast will you get to that tree over there if you see a snake? He just said faster than me. Yeah, well, that should be something. We'd probably get a bit of a camera movement like this as well. Again, as he runs. Senzo, James will tell you, never run in the bush. Never run. Whatever you do, don't run. So Senzo came up with the idea that James is going to write the next book. Say, Senzo, don't run.
Well, it's very quiet. I don't know where those wildebeest, or why those wildebeest aren't living up on the open plains anymore, because they've provided lots and lots of entertainment. But anyways, we'll see what's up on quarantine. The big open plains, we're going to head there now, just have a little scratch around. Maybe we'll find a bird party of buffalo weavers and some hornbills and starlings and grey-headed sparrows and yellow-fronted canaries. Well, one can only hope anyways. So we just have a little scratch about. Arizona lady, there's a lot of birds in Juma. There's at least over 250, and like I say, this is the winter months. So in summer, when the migrants arrive, there are a whole lot more. But you know, it kind of depends. I mean, if you have big river systems, you also have quite a few more birds than what we would see just here in Juma. And I think we definitely do lack the river systems. Here's a bird. And we do miss out on things like, oh, typical, yeah, very cheeky bird. Anyways, it's still sitting there. We do miss out on things like gorgeous bush shrikes and seeing a lot of southern bobos. We just see them occasionally. But this bird, of course, we see plenty of, the red-billed hornbill. They are everywhere, even in our camp. Bye! Not wanting to hang around, though. Right, let's go this way around. Let's see. No, Rexon was telling me that where those logs are, Ferg, remember how we were looking at over there? That's Rexon's doing, and the reason why he put those logs like that is he said that he'd found a crowned lapwing nest and there were some eggs. But we went and checked. When was it? Yesterday afternoon? No, the afternoon before it must have been. We actually went and had a look, and it seems like something has actually eaten the eggs, which is no surprise. Unfortunately, when you are nesting down on the ground, there's a huge risk of your eggs being predated upon. And there's a number of different animals out here that would find that to be the most delicious, nutritious meal. So they have been eaten. And we used to do it all the time. We used to do it around dams and things like that, where people would off-road. If you do find a ground dwelling bird's nest, you would put some logs or something around it just so people wouldn't drive over it. And at Sabi at Earth Lodge, a little 3-banded plover successfully raised 3 little chicks. And we'd done that for her as well. And it was a very popular site for the buffalo and the elephants. It was quite nice because even the big herds of buffalo avoided all those sticks. Because not only us would, pose a threat to accidentally driving over eggs or even stepping on them, but things like elephants and buffalo and giraffe, all these animals, they're not really watching what's on the ground. And I mean, those eggs are so camouflaged, accidents happen all the time. So they'd even be trampled by big herds of animals too. But normally they'd be there to try and shout at them. Right. Well, it seems like we might get lucky with a couple of birds around this area, so I'll keep my eyes open. Off you go to James, who's also on a mid-morning bumble.
I am, and I found a baby grey go-away bird. Babyish. Can you see it there? Very top of the tree. There we are. I say baby simply because he's just a bit smaller than they would be normally. Maybe he's just stunted like me, Sebastian. Lovely colour of the grey there with the blue in the background. I was just saying to Seb, I cannot believe that about half an hour ago the mist was so thick we couldn't see in front of ourselves. And now we find ourselves in bright sunshine. Unfortunately without leopards. Look at that, a bearded woodpecker. Romit? No. The answer is no. You will never see me do a bicycle safari live. I personally think that bicycle safaris are fairly extreme forms of sport. That is because, of course, bicycles are difficult to stop at top speed. And I know of people who've ridden into prides of lions, herds of elephants, various other creatures, through not being sufficiently careful, and also through driving or riding bicycles in areas like this. You can definitely do it in more open areas. I have done a few horseback safaris. There we go, top in the fork. But I've never done a bicycle safari. Horses are also fairly risky, but they are such fun. I tell you, there are a few operators who do them through the Mara, and I would seriously love to do a horse safari through the Maasai Mara. That would be a cliched bucket list experience for me. I know, I think it was Brent. Brent thinks it's madness. There is an element of madness about it. There are a number of people who don't think it's a particularly good idea. And as Luke is saying, where is the line of horse becoming prey? Well, the trick is, Lucas, to make sure that your horses are very well trained so that they do not run away when they see lions. And, you know, you've got to form a phalanx, and apparently also, I mean, I've seen lions once on horseback, and it was a little bit scary, but if things really do go down, you've got to have the courage to get off the horse and stand so the lion can see what you are. And then, of course, they'll normally back off. But certainly it does happen from time to time that you can be riding along in a wilderness area and turn around when your horse is starting to feel slightly heavy on the hindquarters and find a lion attached to it, which can be very disconcerting indeed. But by the same token, you can get much, much closer to things like elephants, rhino, buffalo, mostly because they don't see you for what you are as a human being, and also because you can turn around and gallop away if you happen to get yourself into, if the animal you're looking at takes displeasure at you. It is advisable to be able to ride, though, fairly competently. I've met many people, you know, you can go, I think I've told the story before, but you can go to places in South Africa, in the Drakensberg, lots of resorts where they've got horses. And some of them have got some pretty, you know, not extreme rides, but some pretty fast rides that you can do. And they always say in these hotels, don't come on this ride unless you know how to ride. Now, of course, most people don't know how to ride, but most people think that the pony ride they went on when they were 4 at the church bazaar somehow qualified them for equestrian sports. And so they'll pitch up anyway, especially if they happen to be a South African man with a girlfriend who can ride, because then to say, I can't ride, well, would just be deeply emasculating, especially in South Africa. And so what happens is that you get these, I mean, I've been on a number of these rides, but I can think of one particular instance where I pitched up and there's this guy in his shorts. His girlfriend is dressed to the nines in her riding equipment, and the instructor says, can you ride? Or the guide says, can you ride? Maybe he's not in shorts, he's in jeans or something like that. And he says, yeah, man, I can ride. Of course I can ride. I've rided quite often. So she says, are you okay? All right. And they, she's been shot in this movie many times, so she's seen it and is often not very patient with it. Puts him on top of a horse. Of course, you can tell immediately if someone can ride just by looking at them sitting on a horse, standing dead still. And what he does is basically he leans forward and with his hands on the pommel of the saddle with the reins all long and looks for all the world like he's going to topple off. Anyway, in a lot of these places, the instructor or the guide will then tell him to get off and say, look, I'm sorry, I really don't think this is for you. But in others, he'll just take you on the ride, and the most amusing thing then is to watch this cretin as he tries to hold on as you gallop hell for leather across a fallow field, and he with no semblance of control whatsoever, white as a sheet. It's a very levelling experience, and I'm sure Taylor McCurdy has had similar experiences.
I agree with you, James. I definitely think if you're going to want to go on some kind of a horse riding safari experience, I feel like you need to be more than just a novice rider, because if something goes wrong, you need to be able to hold on. You need to be able to almost climb back on the horse yourself. And if you're an inexperienced rider, my thought is that you probably don't know how to climb back on a horse without somebody giving you a leg up or without standing on I don't know, something, you're not able to put your foot in the stirrup and pull yourself up, and that could be problematic, especially if you got frightened. Your horse, you sort of fell off your horse near a group of animals and you needed to get on very quickly again. It would be a big problem. And it doesn't matter how bomb-proof the horse or pony or whatever you're riding may be, that's a horse riding term for that we sort of use to describe a very calm horse, the horse that's not going to spook at a dog's barking at or a tractor driving past or anything like that. Very relaxed with all sorts of things. Zach, I don't know, I've never seen horses and elephants together before, so I can't answer that. I haven't got a clue. That'll of course only come from when I get to experience it for myself. I'm sure the elephants would be a little bit, I don't think they'd be too relaxed. They'd probably keep their distance. I don't think they'll come towards you. But I'm not sure, because I've never experienced it. It's something that's also very high up on my bucket list, is to go on a horse riding, proper wilderness trail experience on horseback. Would be epic. It would be amazing. Right, now I'm not sure what Steve's doing, but it seems as though he's down on the floor.
Thanks, Taylor. Thanks for your information about horse riding. I'd love to go on a horseback safari. I do enjoy riding horses. So here we go. We found a track here, and it's a beautiful track. The toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the very sort of narrowish sort of back pad. Definitely a three-lobed track, and it is the track, ladies and gentlemen, of a serval, which is very special because I've never seen a serval in the Sabi Sands, but about 5 centimeters or so. Very different from that of a caracal in that this space, there's the back pad where it ends, and there's the toes there. There's a huge amount of space in between here, which is one of the characteristic features of a serval track, and obviously the size. It's quite long and a little bit narrow, so you won't confuse it with that of a civet, but the civet doesn't have this amount here, and the caracal, this back pad, is really pushed up into those toes over there. But what I love about this is, with tracking, is that we can see tracks and know for a fact through passive research and observation that these animals do occur here. Even though we don't see them, they are here, and this is the habitat. Serval walking through with their very long legs, waiting to startle any bird in the undergrowth that might jump out, any small rodents that we might have running around on the ground. Really, really cool to be able to be walking through here and just see the track. That's one of the best things about understanding tracking, is you can know an animal is there even though you might never ever see it. I've still seen lots of honey badger tracks here, but I have yet to find one. But we know they're here. We know animals are in places because of very passive observation through tracking. Okay, well, we're going to continue on through here, through the drainage line, because I can feel my tummy is starting to rumble for breakfast.
I'm also in need of breakfast. I was hoping Tundi was in need of breakfast. This is where we kind of last saw her. There's an alarm calling bird here. Where are you, Tundi? My sweet pea, where are you? I'm just going to talk like the guy who rides the horse. Sebastian, of course, was also reminding me Sebastian was also reminding me that in South Africa it's not only that the guide must say, well, can you ride? She must often say, I'm afraid, sir, your mass is rather too great for the horse available. We are not a small people in South Africa. I am atypical. I'm sorry, sir, but my small Basotho pony is not going to carry your your large beer-fueled belly. Certainly not over any mountains. Yes, like I say, we're not a nation of small people. I am the exception. Alrighty, let's carry on. I don't think there's a leopard here. Maybe a small snake. No, Wendy. You may have heard that we've had a bit of trouble with these vehicles over the last little while. There's actually not much wrong with their engines, but the little computer sensors for a vehicle this old are becoming extremely difficult to find, so that's why we're having trouble with them. That's why they're stalling and struggling to start. There's nothing catastrophically wrong, but it will require something of a modification. There's quite a lekker bird there. There's a little flock of green wood hoopoes. There they are. And there's the ones just going doop, doop, doop. There we are. With their beautiful orange-pink beaks. I mean, how that's called a green wood hoopoe just blows my mind. The ornithologists really don't have any clue. There's very little green about it. All of its greenish colour is formed in the same way that the green of a starling is formed. It's iridescence. It's not actually green at all. Nice one there. Alrighty, we're going to head back home for breakfast. Oh, wow, that one's having breakfast. It's found a little repository of grubs. While we go home for breakfast, Taylor McCurdy is going to navigate you through the final 2.5 minutes of this sunrise safari. Goodbye.
No! There was a mongoose sitting on that log, but of course it has dropped down into the grass so that we cannot see it anymore. Wonderful. And I can also hear some squirrels telling stories too. Maybe there's another kind of mongoose around. Maybe there is something like a slender mongoose that has upset all of these birds. Some very chirpy birds out now. I think everybody is woken up. Otherwise, it's empty on the open plains behind camp. There's literally not even an impala here. No monkeys. It's always nice to have the vervet monkeys around. I like it when our friend Gimpy, who is the vervet monkey in camp, actually there's a whole troop of them. Oh, there's the bushwalk team. I've just spotted them. You see that massive marula tree? Sort of a little bit to your left. There's that big one in the distance. If you zoom into it, behind it in the valley is the bushwalk team. They're going to come out on the left, drop down to the left a bit. There. If you watch there, you should see somewhere there. There they are. Aha! Spotted. There's the Steve. As he walks through the bush, making his way home. He's got a little way to go. It looks like they've done some serious walking. Very camouflage. You can see how those sort of neutral tone colors really do blend in with the vegetation there. That's why you don't want to wear a bright white shirt, or even things like really dark colors like black. Black doesn't blend into the vegetation very well from a distance like that at all. Oh, parrots. I don't know, I heard them. Let me drive forward. I think they were here. I thought I'd heard some. Yeah, where are they? They're squawking here. See if we can find them while they're flying. Oh no, there it is. There's one right up here in this marula tree closest to us. There we go. It's very difficult to see. No, that's not a parrot. That is a lilac-breasted roller. I lied to you. I told big story. A lilac-breasted roller. Yes, there we go. Oh, I can hear the parrots, but I don't know where the parrots are, I'm afraid. They are making a bit of a racket, but I'm sure you all enjoy the brown-hooded parrots anyways, the ones that are in and around the dam camp. But it's flown off now. It went down onto the ground. It's a very pretty background, however. Anyways, it's been an exciting day nonetheless, filled with lots of cats. I hope that you enjoyed it, and keep your fingers crossed for this afternoon that we'll find them all again. See you later.